Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on a Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 475th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Andy Patterson and Matty DiGialinardo going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. And hello to everybody listening throughout the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice throughout the entire month of May. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. We're spoilt for choice this weekend, especially as someone else jumps on the court. It's Donny Baseball. Good evening to him. We shall start, though, Andy, over in Glendale, Arizona. I bet it was nice and hot there. Hot in the ring anyway. David Benavidez beating the shit out of David Lemieux. It was also predictable. Lemieux was going to be too small. Benavidez was going to hit too hard, too regularly, too often, too fast for this guy who's effectively a middleweight. He got the job done at least. That's what we like to see, isn't it? Whenever someone's overmatched, even as Lemieux is now and oversized, at least if the A side gets the job done, doesn't waste anybody's time, doesn't mess about, and gets them out of there, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, I forget the fight from last week, mate, to say the same thing. There was an A side that's beating the shit out of someone. That's exactly what happened there last night. Lemieux is Lemieux. I remember people giving Lemieux so much shit that they wouldn't even give Triple G the credit for beating him up. That's exactly what happened there with Benavidez last night. Just absolutely beat the shit out of Lemieux. Turned to stone actually off that left hook late in the first round. Literally, he was gone at that point. I'm convinced if that round had another 30 seconds, he wouldn't have made it out of there. I thought maybe his corner actually, who's quite experienced, Lemieux's corner actually. I forget the guy's name at this point. But
is it Mark Ramsey in the corner?
Matt Ramsey, that's it, Matt Ramsey. I think he's maybe training at Oberterbe if he's got as well.
He did at one point, I'm pretty sure.
Aye. This is so basically he's one of the top trainers in Canada. I thought really could have said to him, listen, take the second round 2 off, track shoes on, run, grab, hold. What does he do? He just stands there in the pocket, gets teed off on. Obviously, Benavidez with the big long arms, jab, right hand, whipping in the hooks. And we've seen Lemieux hurt, even as a middleweight, we've seen him hurt badly. And then obviously pulled out round 3. I thought really they could have pulled him out at the end of round 2, actually. Bit of brave corner, I thought, sending him back out for round 3. He was hiding to nothing by that point, getting the absolute shit beaten out of him. And there was just really no need for him to kind of go on and take even more punishment. Even at this stage in his career, what is he, 34, 35? So yeah, look, I'll also say as Charlo, I'd like to see Charlo against Benavidez, hopefully, but I'm not hopeful. But other than that said, mate, I can't really kind of add too much more on that fight. I just thought it was a guy who's basically treaded water all this time. Benavidez is a good fighter. I'm not going to deny that. But the thing is, we're not going to see him active. We're not going to see him back in the ring within the next 3 to 4 months, possibly. He's picked up his belt again. He's probably wanting to kind of keep in the Canelo sweepstakes, possibly, unless BBC maybe got something lined up for him in terms of biggish fights. But that said, he did what he did last night. Beat what was in front of him, and as a guy who's supposed to be the A side, that's exactly what you want. You didn't want the fight getting dragged out, 10, 12 rounds. And I will say, Benavidez looked absolutely fantastic on the scales. Actually, we've seen him looking like death. Dark eyes, sunken in. Especially round about the cheeks. I mean, I read the weight up, was it 166? I thought maybe cooked it a wee bit too much. Maybe just trying to make sure he made it. But other than that, he looked pretty decent on the scales. I thought didn't look grey, looked quite healthy. So maybe he's changed up his lifestyle a wee bit and maybe got some people in to help him try and make weight. But the way you want to look at it as well, the belt that he got there last night, bullshit, absolute bullshit belt. It's purely been created because Canelo's went up to 175, I think, isn't it? So at this point, at least, with that said, until Benavidez steps up against an elite fighter, at least, we're still going to have a few unanswered questions about: is he just a weight bully, just using his size? So look, the Khalid Plant fight, I think, goes something similar to what happened there last night, and there's a bit of beef there, so it could get a bit nasty, even that fight. So until we see him properly tested against an elite fighter, for me at least, Benavidez is still, how can I put it? Not treading water, but you know what I'm saying. It's still like a wait to be seen, shall we say?
There's a lot of parallels between him and Zerto.
That's
probably the way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's quite strayed into Zerto territory just yet, but he was heading that way at one point. I think he wanted to become an undefeated 14-time WBC champion, never defeated in the ring. Hopefully he'll stay off the coke and stay healthy and keep his weight down. M. Lithgow, 1983, he could be on the coke, who knows? He says Lemieux is shot to pieces, but had the heart of a lion last night. Ariane Yuda has an interesting perspective on the fight. He says Leeds have stayed up. Ebony Bridges must be well chuffed. I just wish she was near me here. Maybe she would depart those legs for me with her happiness. So thank you for throwing in that one there, Ariane Yuda.
I think you're searching for the Ebony Bridges fans Facebook group, buddy. But thanks for participating.
What's the OnlyFans page?
Lonely Fans, I think he should be signing up for. Mr. Yuda, are you with friends? Are you with friends? No doubt. Matty, yeah, it became pretty obvious early on that David Lemieux was going to struggle badly with the size of Benavidez. He came out firing. He clearly had some fight in him, but he was small. He looked flabby around the middle. Once Benavidez measured him up, landed that big left hand, it was curtains. And I think Harvey Dock actually slid in to stop it and then swiftly transitioned into the end of the round as the bell went. I think Andy said another 30 seconds, maybe another 3 or 4 seconds, and it would have been over.
Oh, yeah. And it's I initially thought he broke it because he was kind of leaning over Lemieux a little bit, and he was breaking it because of that. But apparently not. He actually sent a note to the announcers afterwards that says, I was stepping in to stop it, but then the bell rang, and I figured let it go. Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. There's a lot to talk about the refs from this week, Steve, but we'll get into more of that later. Benavidez looked good. He threw everything. Jabs, rights, uppercuts, hooks. Just gave Lemieux hell with every bit of it. The physical dimensions of the two very similar to the differences between Canelo and Bivol. So it was just outsized, outgunned, outpunched. Lemieux definitely has balls. I think his lineage probably stems from somebody who participated in the French Foreign Legion. But onwards and upwards for Benavidez, and hopefully he gets himself a meaningful fight. As he said, these bitches won't sign to fight me. So come on, bitches, sign to fight him.
Yeah, I like that, Donny. The bitch talk from Benavidez. Just let's get straight, let's get direct. No more messing around now. Call out these people by name. Call them bitches. He's the Mexican monster, as Mike Tyson calls him. Are you impressed by Benavidez, Donny? Indeed, did you see the Showtime card from the weekend?
Yeah, that's actually the only card I saw this weekend. I mean, Benavidez looked good, but I mean, it was against a guy who was significantly smaller, who had come up from middleweight, where he had fought for many years. The results were predictable, I think, but to me, actually, though, I thought he got hit quite a bit. Lemieux, he was having his say in those exchanges, and I understand why the fight was stopped, but I mean, he was hitting him with huge body shots, and we know how hard that Lemieux can punch. I actually was surprised to see it had no effect on him, or at least it seemed to. It might have if the fight had gone longer, but I mean, against somebody his own size. I mean, I think that his defense honestly leaves some question marks in my mind, because Lemieux was able to just tee off on his body, but the fight just didn't really go long enough for those shots to really pay dividends, because he stopped him. But
did he not respect the power and the size of Lemieux, Donny?
Well, I guess he didn't need to, did he? But the result proves that. But I think it may be a harbinger of things to come for him when he is in there with somebody who's properly sized and who isn't in the twilight of their career. I mean, I think he's a good fighter, but I think he's really there to be hit. That's what I took out of it. I mean, and in terms of people not wanting to fight him, I mean, it seems like he had a packed arena there last night. It seems like he's got a really good following, down in the Southwest there. I mean, I would just, I'm actually surprised that more guys don't want to fight him, because to me, I don't know, he didn't look so defensively, responsible in his performance last night. And maybe that's because he didn't need to be, because he just didn't fear. He felt what Lemieux was offering, and it didn't faze him. And maybe he might fight differently against another opponent. But to me, I saw a guy that could be hit.
No, he does tend to fight like that, Donny. I've seen him before. He loves a scrap. He seems to love getting hit. And I don't think that the fact that the big fights involving him haven't happened are necessarily just down to the other people in and around the weights. But the fact that he's at least calling them out directly means we might see them there. But we've seen him against Durrell. I think it was Ronald Ellis as well. They all landed on him. He doesn't respect their power at all. Ronald Graville dropped him, I think, Ricky Graville, whenever he didn't respect his power. But whenever he fights against someone who can hit harder and get closer to the target than Lemieux on a regular basis, I think that might be his downfall, like you say, Donny. But at the moment, he doesn't respect opponents. He just loves a scrap.
Yeah, and he's huge for the weight, and if he can fight that way, I mean, fans will love it. They do love it. So I guess he'll continue to on the path that he's on until he can no longer continue on that. And really, I think if he was fighting Canelo, he'd have to change his game plan significantly, because you can't fight that way against elite competition.
Yeah, well said. Matty, regarding Benavidez' style, stylistically, indulge me on this one. I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'll throw it out there anyway. It reminds me a little bit of Tyson Fury, actually. Languid stance, high shoulders, flicking the head. And I think more or less this was a highlight reel opportunity, a final highlight reel KO opportunity for him before they push him into those big fights. Get one here, make him look impressive. He was throwing all those shots the way he did against Porky Medina all those fights ago. And I think a bigger fight will come next. And this final one now, look how hard he hits. No more messing around with him now with that Tyson Fury style. What do you think?
I don't know about that. I don't think he necessarily uses the jab the way that Tyson is able to, and he definitely tends to square up quite a bit when he gets folks alongside the ropes. But he definitely uses his size similarly to the way that Fury used it in the second Wilder fight. Hopefully they're going to give him a push after this. Hopefully they get a fight. I do think Plant is an exceptional fight for him. I think, again, that the uppercut is going to be Caleb Plant's foil in that one as well. But it should be a decent fight while it lasts. Benavidez against the blackest man in boxing, decent enough. I think the question is going to be, can they lure Canelo over there after the next two fights he has with the Zone are completed? Because that would be a big fight. Definitely when you do in Vegas, he'd get his people up from Arizona, and Canelo pulls in what Canelo pulls. And I think that's definitely a fun fight for the fans. It'd be a great fight on one of the Mexican holidays. And obviously, Canelo has all the cards, but I definitely think that Benavidez is a willing dance partner on that one, and I don't think he'd be so foolish as to try to ask for something too ridiculous as far as the purse goes on that. Yeah, looking forward to where Benavidez goes from here, seeing how much longer he can make 168. Because again, like Zurdo, they're basically cruiserweights that are boiling down, and it's only a matter of time,
Yes, I just noticed, guys, that I actually forgot that Benavidez is actually only 25, and he's been a pro since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost was that 9 years? Yeah, I was just something I just kind of noticed. I actually kind of thought he made me slightly older than that, considering how long he's been about, you know.
No, I remember him seeing him fight on one of the Frampton undercards, and he's only 18, 19 then. He's a big guy, big specimen, quite pudgy as well. But we'll talk about his move up to 175, possibly, if he doesn't get the right partners at 168 shortly, if we can. A final comment on the main event, Andy, before we go on to the undercard then. I think as eye-catching and as scything as those uppercuts and headshots were, it was sneaky little body shots as well from Benavidez. They were draining the energy out of Lemieux. He throws those combinations really nonchalantly, but he knows that he hits hard. And Lemieux, I mean, as we said, you can never accuse that guy of going out without a fight. The corner a little bit late for me, the same as you, Andy, because they did the right thing in the end. But Lemieux was going to end up with brain damage. I think he might need to think about hanging him up, you know.
Yeah, I think the other thing about Benavidez as well, mate, is he actually switches it up very, very fluently. You know, as it says, the check left hook, obviously, for to turn Lemieux into stone for that, that brief second. He then stepped into him and then started. It was a right hand, left hook to the body, and then started launching up, left uppercuts.
He has an explosive turn of pace, doesn't he?
He does, and sometimes I think his hand speed can be quite deceptive. I said before, actually, that in previous fights, and again, it might be done at the weight cut, because I've seen him maybe throw shots. I think, if he's fighting Canelo there, I could maybe seen Canelo or somebody else with quicker hand speed could have maybe got off quicker. But again, it maybe just a wee bit more testament at this time as to how he's made the weight, no depleting himself, as I've said before. But as I said, he's got a good variety of shots, likes to step in there, likes to hurt people, and again, he has got the talent. He just needs. Again, we mentioned it again last week. But a couple of the fighters just need dance partners now. They just need a rival to bring it out of them. As I say about Khalid Plant, I don't know what the beef is again with they two. But at the end of the day, I still believe Plant's got nothing to offer him. I think Plant would basically dance that ring for as long as possible. Then Benavidez, if he can cut the ring off, hurt him, I think he could do it within like the middle half of the fight, to be honest with you. But I could see it being an absolute bludgeoning beatdown. But again, great hitter, good combination puncher. But especially that left hook, for me at least. I know you mentioned the body shots, but I really do like his left hook, especially the one that kind of really hurt Lemieux to start off the violence.
Yeah, talking of left hands, one person who wasn't afraid to throw left hands and pretty much nothing else, Elvis Gomez. We spoke about him last week, Matty. He doesn't fight like a typical Cuban. He comes out banging, throwing wild bombs. His feet are all over the place. There was not much of a jab on display early on, at least. And Jorge Kota, he isn't the most cohesive opponent either. You wonder how someone like Kota, with such poor skills, can get so far in boxing. I should be talking about Gomez here, but Kota, he's quite the specimen.
Yeah, that was a really odd adventure with Kota there. He normally throws more punches than he does in that one, and it's a shame that he wasted his best punch of the fight on the referee. I don't know if you remember that, Steve, but at the end of the third round,
he took that right hand well, man.
He
right
did.
end of the round, eh?
He did. And I thought that he did a pretty poor job as referee in that fight. I didn't take any notes as to why, but I remember that I thought it was pretty ridiculous. It just wasn't very impressed. So,
do you think so? That's interesting, Matty. I actually thought the opposite. I actually thought he did a pretty good job, but I mean, I'm happy to agree to disagree.
Yeah, for some reason I don't think he did. I don't even remember why. I scored at 98-92 to Gomez. It's Gomez. I see why you're really high on him, Steve, but I think there's something missing with him, and his need to feel like he always has to throw big punches. He leaves himself a little bit more open. And as they said in the telecast last night, I think Kota from 2.5-3 years ago gives him a totally different fight. I know he's only had 6 fights at this point in time, but he has that extensive amateur pedigree. They're trying to move him up quick. He's a good fighter, but I don't think he is the package.
Can I just qualify something? I'm high on him to the point of I like his style. He's exciting. He can go the rounds. He's not afraid to throw bombs. The guy's an accident waiting to happen. Let me just clarify that, Matty.
Yeah, I think so too, but it'll be fun while it lasts, right? That was at a catchweight of 157, so I don't know if he's campaigning at junior middle or middleweight.
Yes.
He looks huge for the weight.
Yeah, He is a
They're
big
going to try
son
and
of a
boil him down
bitch.
to junior middle, you'd imagine, if he's coming in at 157.
That's
I'd
what
say.
I was going to say because when I was watching, I had to go and double check the weights because they look like fucking super middleweights to me. Obviously with the rehydration, they look massive.
Yeah, they did. No, I like the look of him. He's a bit like David Morrell, but not as refined and as polished, but and a bit wilder. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses. He's hooked up Andy with Ismail Salas now, so hopefully he'll be able to refine the technique a little bit. It was a wild brawl early on.
Yeah.
Matthew mentioned the referee taking a shot as well. At least Gomez did show good stamina and a reasonable variety as the bout wore on. I thought to myself, is he going to be a Mike Jones or a Balanga and he's going to look like shit? And I think once he got his second wind, he actually showed a few decent skills.
Yeah, the other thing as well is, I mean, obviously it was his 7th pro fight, and he's been like smashing his previous opponents in like 1 or 2 rounds. So that was probably the best thing that happened to him there last night, was to get 10 decent rounds. You know, as I say, he's been blasting people out quick. You know, so he had the opportunity to get that gas tank tested. Moved pretty aggressively, I thought. So maybe, you know, beneficial possibly to kind of step up in levels against a more dangerous fighter. Kota, I think, just came to survive, get his paycheck, go, was it 10 rounds, 12 rounds, forget what at this point. But look, again, aggressive. He was looking for a knockout. He's pressing the pressure. Possibly against a more polished opponent, he maybe got countered with a left hook or something, and then he gets sparked out. Another thing with the Cubans, you just don't know, you know, how many of them have actually got, you know, got the minerals, shall we say. You know, once it gets a wee bit kind of heavy, do the bail. It's been seen to happen with like Solis and Rigondo in the past, whereas, you know, maybe they didn't fancy training, you know, or, you know, take one too many hits and they just want to chuck it after a wee bit, or like Rigondo maybe hurts his hand and pulls out the fight. So we need to see that. But at the end of the day, look, I thought the best thing to happen to him there last night was to go those 10 rounds. As I say, he looks massive for the weight, and if he's going to drag him down to 154, then he may be some sort of force. But it'll be interesting to see if he can actually maintain that at 154. You know, that output that he had there last night.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that as well, because okay, it's only what £3 difference, you know, coming down the weight from what he was fighting at there last night, but still £3. You just don't know how much he's having to drag himself to make those, you know, to shed those last £3. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
Donny, you were all over the Showtime action last night. What did you think of Elvis Gomez? He's exciting, if nothing else.
Yeah, and actually, you know, I mean, normally the knock on some of these Cuban fighters is that they, you know, will fight in the amateur style and very cautious, you know, and not take chances. An obvious exception to that would be like Gamboa or something, but I think maybe, you know, maybe he's coming out because he wants to make something exciting happen and make a name for himself, and you know, maybe he won't fight that way necessarily against everybody else. Who knows? You know, when the competition steps up. But you know, he went out there trying to get a knockout and to please the crowd. He didn't get it, but it was entertaining nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we'll just have to see him, you know, against some more mature competition to, you know, I think maybe more adequately assess his skills. But he does look like a fun fighter, and I'd be happy to see him on any undercard, pretty much, you know, at any time. You know, we've all seen a bunch of crappy undercard fights before, and you know, he's somebody I actually enjoy watching.
Yeah, decent undercard overall from what we saw, the televised stuff, including some good matchmaking again, competitive opening contest between Luis Nunes, the Twist, and Jonathan Fiero. Fiero is only 18 years of age, sporting an impressive throat tattoo. He'd knocked out 12 of his 13 victims, came out throwing for all 10 rounds. Full respect to him as well. The poor kid was in tears on the way out. He really did give his all, Matty. As for Nunes, I think he just had that extra bit of quality at the right times. The scores were 96-94 across the board. The judges struggled to agree on a bunch of the rounds, so it was a tight fight, but I think they got it right by a couple of points. But Fiero, unlike Jade, can definitely come again because he gave his all, and at only 18 years of age, I think he was really impressive too.
Yeah, he that's a great learning fight. He needs to develop a few more tools. Throw him some more of those right hooks. They seem to do some damage when he threw them. He just jumped in with that left hand too much, and eventually Nunes had it figured out and was able to stand in, pick his spots, counter well. He landed the harder shots. He'll be interesting to see him moving forward. Somebody who can close the distance better and apply steadier pressure on him, I think could give him a very hard time. But I I don't know if he'll for sure be beaten because he's a good counterpuncher. He throws a solid shot. He takes a good shot, as you could see, too. And just another one of those unexpected quality fights that has been bestowed upon us by the great Uncle Al. So praise be, Steve. Praise be.
That's something I can definitely get on board with. My connection's struggling a little bit here. Let's see if we can hold it up. Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Seems to be going down the bars, but we'll plod on regardless. Arian Yuda has thrown in a comment here. He said Benavidez' plodding footwork and near zero head movement seems very easy to hit. Not sure that strategy will work at 175. Speaking of 175, Andy, this will segue us nicely into the Eddie offing on DAZN O2 Arena last night between Joshua Buatsi and Craig Richards. A close, hard-fought, competitive contest. I thought Buatsi had the quicker hands, which meant he was beating Richards to the punch in a lot of the early exchanges, but Richards just kept on coming, and his shots, they were more looping, going round the houses to land, but that uppercut and the hooks, they started landing as the fight went on, and I was fairly impressed with the work rate and the stamina of both men. If we can say nothing else, it was a good, honest scrap, and finally, the scorecards matched the endeavour of both of them.
You try to say that you didn't agree with Tony Bellew's scorecards last night, mate?
We will get to that, no doubt, Andrew.
Tony. Yeah, obviously, I picked Craig Richards last week for the prediction league, which I obviously got wrong. Because obviously I expected his experience to kind of maybe tell, and you're right. I mean, when Buatsi, I thought, was starting the first 2 rounds pretty quick. Maybe seemed to try and maybe go for a knock. Maybe it was nervous energy, who knows. And I'm thinking to myself, if he catches Richards with something here, he could go, because it looked like he was just putting everything into those shots. But Richards would always try and come back with some sort of response, some sort of answer, back on the jab, right hand. I kind of get the feeling that it was just a lack of true belief in himself to actually maybe just step in there a wee bit longer, hold his feet, and maybe just, batter it out with Buatsi. Because at times, Buatsi was getting caught, and again, zero head movement by Buatsi, and the same getting caught from time to time. I'm saying to myself, if it was a more kind of elite guy, there's no way he's standing in there for too much longer. Buatsi needs to learn how to close his show, I think, a wee bit better. I also think he's maybe got slight stamina problems, fights in spurts, like he probably normally does. But all in all, it was a good domestic scrap. I'll leave it at that. But in terms of Buatsi moving up to world level, I think there's a definite ceiling, and it's probably run about here just now. He should have been fighting the likes of Richards, maybe 18 months ago, domestic level opponents, without doubt. Then we would have known really how much he's still got to improve. Is he ready? That type of thing. Even I would say Yard at this point probably beats Buatsi. I really do believe that. I think Yard's defence is probably slightly better than Buatsi's as well. So we'll wait and see. Again, politics is politics in the day. I just don't think we'll ever see that fight, to be honest with you. But as I say, it's good domestic scrap. Richards, fair play to him. He played his part. It was definitely close. He'd certainly tied it up a wee bit kind of closer as the fight went on, Richards. But again, I just felt as if he had a wee bit more belief in himself to kind of let his hands go more. Maybe just rough it out a wee bit longer. Maybe try and dog it on Buatsi a wee bit. I think he could have got the nod there last night. But hey ho, that's just the way it goes. He done his best. Buatsi, as I say, started quick, maybe faded down the stretch, as I mentioned. So maybe question marks about his gas tank. Definitely, needs to work on the defence a wee bit. And Eddie's talking about bringing Bivol to the UK. Eddie, good evening to you, sir. Listen to me right now. Buatsi's got nothing for Bivol, right? You're desperate to try and get your UK subscribers for DAZN fights to keep an interest. We didn't want to see Buatsi against Bivol. It's a massacre, mate. So keep Buatsi at domestic European level just now. Let the kid develop from there on in. Because, as I say, anywhere up at world level at 175, he's on the hiding to nothing.
If they're looking to create a meaningful opponent for Bivol, though, who could say that they might have earned their shot, given they're both on DAZN, why not go if he wants to take the risk on it and put in Gilberto Ramirez against Buatsi and let the winner fight Bivol? I think
I can't. But the thing is, I can't see Ramirez going for that, because Eddie's going on about, it's an eliminator, we might bring over Bivol for Buatsi. That's true, possibly, but Gilberto Ramirez is the mandatory. So Oscar and Ramirez aren't going to step aside and start having box-offs with Buatsi and all this, no matter what Eddie wants to do, or bringing in Bivol over. Ramirez is the mandatory, as far as I'm concerned, Matty, for the WBA. So he'll be fighting Bivol next, or they're going to have to do something to get him out of the way. You know, people have been saying this on Twitter as well, as much as Eddie's talking about it. It's Ramirez's shot.
Well, and it's also, and Canelo, I think, is the one person who has to say more than anyone, right? If he exercises that rematch clause, you know that everybody would just allow it to happen. They'll make it swing it one way or the other.
But Ramirez will not fight Buatsi in the meantime. He'll just sit on his shot. I mean, he's happy to sit. He showed us that before. He'll just sit and wait for the winner of Canelo and Bivol to take place then. He'll not come over and fight Buatsi, will he, Ramirez?
Possibly so. It's just... I know if they throw enough money at a fight, it gets harder to say no, right? And that's the idea behind it. And that's a fight that they could throw some money at. I don't know what side of the pond you'd have that on. That's an interesting thought. Because they got fan bases specific to geographic areas. So that's a curiosity. But I think that's even if it doesn't happen, that's an enjoyable fight. That's just a good fight. You know, so sign me up. However it might happen now, 2 years from now, I like it.
No, I agree with that. I just can't see Ramirez and Golden Boy and that sending him out to fight anyone unless he just fights another Bocel in the meantime.
Is Ramirez Golden Boy, or is he still doing like the independent hired gun thing?
Well, he's hired gun, but Golden Boy are kind of looking after him. They've got him that shot with Bivol, haven't they? So.
Plus, they're on the zone, so it's an easy fight, you know, across the platforms. But again, you know, Eddie seems to be kind of like pocking up these British fighters for, you know, world level opponents, you know, to try and get on the zone. It's he's running kind of thin. I think it also kind of maybe tells its own story about his own stable. Actually, it's again thinning out, weak. I mean, Buatsi, Bivol. Imagine Bivol getting asked, "Listen, do you want to come to the UK to fight Joshua Buatsi?" You just beat Canelo, for Christ's sake, or 12, dominated him for 12 rounds. He's wanting to come to the UK to fight Buatsi.
Yeah, you've beat Canelo. You've got the Canelo rematch, and you've got Ramirez waiting. There's two potential fights. You know, Eddie Stable's running as thin as his hairline. He's so disingenuous. There's no chance of the winner of Buatsi Richards fighting Bivol anytime soon, in my opinion.
Well, you know, why don't make the Callum Smith fight? Why don't make Anthony Yard fight? You know, I think Eddie will complain that Yard wanted £1 million or something for it. I can't mind. Callum Johnson's been MIA for I don't know how long.
Well, he was supposed to fight Joe Smith Jr., but there was the injury or COVID or some shit, and that put that off. So he tried to fight, you know, at least.
Okay, I see a good comment in the chat there. I mean, even at this point, Jean Pascal would be ideal.
I think so, Andy. Yeah,
absolutely ideal. Okay, he's washed, shot possibly, but he's still managing to pull out victories against decent level guys, or world ranked guys at least.
The ageless wonder. Every 2 years, he just pops out of hiding and picks up a title.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Where else would they pop for them? Yeah,
get on the jab in every sense and get over it.
Exactly, but I think he'd be an ideal test. You know, seasoned, experienced, ex-world champion, knows how to fight. He's got his own issues with his gas tank, but I tell you what, he gave Buatsi everything he could handle. I still think at this point in his career, even though I never saw his fight Friday night, I will catch it at some point, but I believe he looked pretty decent.
It was okay, Andy. It wasn't a bad fight, actually. Derek Cooper was tweeting out, Twitter wit. He says, poor ticket sales, empty arena, weak card, main event starting late. All that things Ed used to slate one for. Funny old world. #boxing. Matty, I think that Richards' hair didn't help him last night. Whenever Buatsi landed one of those rapid-fire attacks, Richards' hair was bouncing up and down as if he was being tagged constantly. Probably more than he actually was. I say get it scalped next time.
You know, I don't know about that, because the Guot looks at that hair and she's envious. How could you damage such a do? I don't know. In a world where, you know, hairlines are so hard to find, might want to hang on to that one.
Guests are hard to find at this rate. We've got Donnie's disappeared now, Matty.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, I didn't see any of this. I'm just going to go. Or his wife yelled at him. There's all sorts of options.
I know. On the fight itself, though, I suppose, Buatsi hits nicely to the body. I'm not sure he likes it too much in return down there, but which fighter does at the end of the day? And he was complaining a lot more as the bout wore on, took a few shots, showed a good beard. On the subject of referees, I thought Howard Foster actually did a really good job, better than Bob Williams earlier in the evening, which I'm sure we'll come to. But I think Buatsi, he bites down on his gum shield, he does well. What about the Virgil Hunter link-up, Matty? Are you happy with that? Do you think that's something that's working out?
Working out better than for Tony Yoka.
That's true. Stay with Virgil, then, you're saying?
Sorry, Matt, it's Tony mediocre, mate.
There you go. There you go. For me, I think it's all. I think Virgil Hunter is a very good boxing mind, right? For me, I think it's all about how his demeanor and just the way that real mellow way that he carries himself, how that works with a fighter, right? I don't think that he's someone that becomes an intense asshole in the gym. I think he is the way that he is at all times. You never see him really modulate off of his center. So if that is how Buatsi best operates himself, then that's a good pairing. But if it's not, and he needs someone that's a little more intense, he should be making those changes.
Ames is on board with Hairgate, so is Des. Hopkins said the same about Lemieux when he fought Triple G. Yeah, I just think that the way the dreadlocks was kind of bouncing around, even though he was blocking the shots on the gloves and that, and not everything was landing, it just looked like his head was being bounced around. So maybe he should consider a haircut next time, or get it cut off in the middle of the fight like Paulie Molina, as you did all those years against Love More and Do. I think we've talked the main event to death. Last week, Matty, I picked Javier Molina to defeat Robbie Davis Jr. I thought he might have done a little bit more to secure the win. He definitely had Davis in trouble a few times, and if he'd just put his foot down on the gas, he could have got the job done. I think Bob Williams was very lenient with Davis's head. I think it was flying in left, right, and centre. Davis did just enough in the rounds to up his activity levels and win the points, and it was down to, I think it was Molina's fight to win, and he just lost it. Where was Diaz Senior in the corner? Jojo Diaz, his dad, the big fat guy. He's usually effing and blinding like mad when it's his son. Why wasn't he putting a firework up Molina's arse? Not that I have anything particularly against Robbie Davis Jr., but the fact he's still a key part of Eddie's stable shows how weak it is, because he did all he could, holding on by a gnat's cock to try and win that fight last night. I think he's on slippery ground, old Davis, Matty.
Yeah, I personally kind of think that Davies earned that round and Molina didn't deserve it based on one thing. And it made me recall when Alexander Povetkin fought Vladimir Klitschko, Steve. The constant falling down to the knees on the inside shit.
Yes.
Like at some point in time, it's too much. And it just becomes bullshit. And I think that you're kind of throwing it away at that point in time, just trying to get the easy way out of fighting in the pocket. So based on that, I think that Davies deserved the victory. I scored it a draw. The odds on it were very close to even, with Molina as a slight underdog, and that's exactly the way that it scored out. You're right. He could have put his foot on the gas. He didn't have to stay on the back foot all that time. He didn't have to let Davies step in when there was empty space between them. He could have filled it with punches, and he chose to do none of that. So it's one of those things. And if you're going overseas, going to that guy's backyard, you need to put together those extra 10 or 15 punches thrown around. You can't give him an excuse. So Molina has no one but himself to blame. Not enough effort and not enough heart when you look at the way that he was falling to his knees. It was rather ridiculous.
Well said, Matty. I completely agree with that, actually. Sliding into Chicks with Dig territory, we had Ellie Scottney winning a 10-rounder over Maria Cecilia Roman, and Chantel Cameron winning a 10-rounder over Victoria Noelia Bustos, a couple of Argentinians, rather, coming into the away corner there. I must admit, I only caught fleeting glances. This was what was known in the Wellings household as the piss break, so I didn't see any of these fights. Did you catch anything of it?
I did catch them both, and I thought that reasonably similar performances from them. I don't know if there's a gender equivalent of workmanlike, but that was it, Steve. And I do think that Scottney definitely has talent. Chantel Cameron, definitely a good fighter. But I don't think that I would rate Scottney as a prospect in the same light that I'm currently rating Sky Nicholson, who's only fighting a weight class above her. And I definitely don't think I can put Chantel Cameron in the same conversation with Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields, and Savannah Marshall as the real top tier of the sport. But she's definitely a good second tier player there. And there's some fights that could be made. It'd be interesting I can't remember who the other title holder is at 140 pounds. The unification would be good. And then potentially going up to 147 pounds and challenging Jessica McCaskill. I think that's a good fight for Cameron as well. But we'll see if they get any of those done. There's more fighters available than there used to be, but it's still slim pickings. So you're curious when they'll just jump at that opportunity to make like a McCaskill fight or something where there's actually a good dollar value behind it for Cameron. And I think that they're probably going to be putting in Scottney with, she seems to think she can get down another 4 pounds. So I imagine they'll be putting her in with Courtney or Ebbs here shortly.
So that'd be down at what, 118, would it be?
Yes.
Right, okay, fair enough. A little bit heavier than that, Andy, right up on the card. I tell you what, if it was nothing if not exciting, the Cabbage himself, Alan Babich, 10-rounder against Adam Balski. It was a good old-fashioned slugfest, wasn't it? It kind of lit things up a little bit. I mean, for all of its faults, man, it was quite exciting at times.
I tell you what, mate, it was when I got in yesterday, right? I says I'll leave the box until I'll only watch the main event, and I switched it on, and it was the Cabbage came on. I was like, oh Christ! Literally within 10 seconds, I switched it on, and he gets dropped. I'm like, okay, I'll sit and watch this. But as everybody been seeing on Twitter, it has to be said, right? It has to be said. It was a decent scrap against with two guys who are on a certain level, shall we say, right? They're no world level fighters. Aye, basically. Babich, what round was it actually? He took that, was it the 9th?
Yeah, I think it was the 9th, yeah, man. That was a hell of a shot, wasn't it?
But I thought he was gone then, man. He was looking for the corner, staggering out of the place like a drunk. I'm saying to myself, I forget the guy's name, Balski, sorry.
Balski, yeah.
If he'd actually just, he seemed to elect to, to box that 10th
yeah, it was
round.
strange,
Jab,
that, wasn't it?
Right
yeah.
hands. Why didn't they go for it? Fucking Babich was there to be had, but then fair play to Babich actually, because I thought as that 10th round went on, you could see him gradually kind of coming more back into it, get his senses back to him, and he started throwing more shots. Look, we all know what he is at this point. He's a strongman type G glorified. That's what he is. Yeah, will be in exciting fights to a point, but he knows himself what his limit is or what his level is really. Look, last night it was fun to watch, but at the same time, I'm not going to go too much on it, but it says it was an exciting fight. I'll leave it at that.
Andy, I was going to ask you something. I was going to ask you something actually, and Ames has picked up on this as well. Was the shot legal? Seemed to me at first. I think he was throwing it as the bell was going.
Landed. I know. I mean,
what can you do in that situation? The bell was landing as he threw it, man. I don't know. I think it was
I need to go back and watch it, but did the ref, as the bell sounded, did Lachlan immediately step in there to stop the punches, or was it literally like mid-flight as the bell went? Because if the bell goes, I think if it lands right on the bell, I think it's going to be classed as a legal shot. Possibly.
I think so.
I think the ref was caught in a really tough position there. I think that the shot landed after the bell, but it obviously wasn't for not paying attention. It was just like in the middle of action right at that moment, and he probably started throwing it before the bell rang, just kind of one of those in a second thing, or just shortly thereafter. It was close.
I haven't watched it back, to be honest with you, but as I say, when I've seen it on the replay didn't have the bell sound, so I don't know if it
that would have been useful, wouldn't it? That would have been really useful.
I'll tell you what, it was a cracker of a shot, man. You seen his neck just twisted, like almost fucking right round about his shoulder. It was like one of those. It was like one of those Rocky type shots that you see, like say, kind of close up. It's like, right, okay, we're going to film this shot, right, and I want you to spin your head one way as I hit you with this. That's what it was like. A right hand, boom. But fuck me, man.
It's hard because it's in the heat of the moment and all. But sometimes if you hear the bell and your body instantly relaxes and your hands come down, that can be a mistake, can't it? Sometimes you've got to keep them going for that extra couple of secones.
Another thing I was going to mention, Steve, is I don't think we do it in Britain, but they need to have the 10-second warning in the ring these days, because it gives the referee that, okay, I've got to have a quick countdown here, 10 seconds to go, I get ready to jump in. At the very, very first sound of that bell, I'm straight in there to try and stop anything happening, or shots like that obviously kind of landing bang or maybe after the bell. So maybe we need to start bringing the 10-second warning in the UK ring, to be honest with you.
Well, see, I was going to say, I think the ref did the right thing with the point deduction, Steve, and here's why. He was caught in a really weird position, because that technically it wasn't a malicious blow, but it wasn't technically a legal blow. And he was still damaged from it. So the only thing that you could really do for him was give him time. And the only way you can really do that at the start of a round is by going into the point deduction.
That's a good point, or some kind of serious warning. Yeah, because it has been a fight-changing incident. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And you would have hated for it to have ended on that. It would have been kind of like if Marcos Maidana got knocked out by Adrian Broner in the last round of their fight, because remember he caught him after the bell, and that was far more malicious. And the ref really did nothing about that in that situation. So weird position to be in, and I think we got to give credit to the ref on this one because there's no other way that you could kind of even it out for Babich at that point in time, because it was no fault of his own. You kind of forced his hand, and I think he played it right.
Well said, Matty. Just to remind everybody listening at home, in case you don't realise, we are into episode 475 of the Asylum Nuthouse podcast. We're fairly racking them up, 25 to go to go on to episode 500. Quick shout out to the chat just before we do that. Shout out to everybody over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum, including the people who have joined us this week. Des Cook, Canada's finest, and Gerard, aka Gerard, has joined us as well. So welcome to you two, enjoying themselves in the Boxing Nutters Messenger group, which we'll go through the prediction league very shortly.
Hey,
First
Steve,
of all, yes,
I have considered, since we're doing the Patreon and we do the stuff through YouTube and all that, I've considered starting an OnlyFans where I treat my cock like a speed bag.
Okay.
Do anything to get some money, eh?
Hey, you got to test the market to find out if that's what the people want.
Well, there'll be some dirty pervert who wants that. Like, don't you worry about that. I mean, have you seen some of the people who've been getting pictures taken with Ebony Bridges? Guys getting fucking autographs put on their neck so they then go and get it tattooed. Absolute weirdos. So I think there'll be a market for that, Matty. No, without doubt.
That would be terrible to get a stalker from doing that, wouldn't it? God, I didn't even think that through. Like somebody like knocking on my door, like wanting to touch my junk. That's just messed up.
Oh, can I imagine it would be
Back to the darkness of the chat, everybody. Shout out to Michael Thompson. Don't know whether he'll be signing up for OnlyFans or not, but he's hanging around in there anyway. So is Take Ames, Jack WD, Kent's Missing Scarf, Johnny Horsecock Nelson is with us as well. So is Yumi Yappy, Paul Raftery, Des as usual. Nathan Ford, Stephen Hill, Ariane Yuda. Who else have we got here floating around? Josh Ford, Ben Russell, Ray. No surname for Ray. No messing around there. Big A is here. K Boomerang. Haven't seen you before. Welcome. Slappy Gilmore stops by from time to time. Final couple as well before we move on. M2M's here. Adam Hughes as well with his own particular brand of comedy. And M Lithgow 1983 is with us. Please, Matty, no. Says Take Ames. He's not happy about the OnlyFans. Jason Chahal's there, though. Amit Sharma says Matty can guest appear on Tony Bellew's OnlyFans. Chinny's here as well. Shout out to Gerard and David Mustard as well, who's thrown in just in time for his shout out.
But Steve, that was a great fight. Okay, that was a great fight.
No, it was.
I hate to come and and I hate to miss that chance. It's a trash fight. Let's appreciate trash fighters for what they are. The dude has a hell of a fucking beard. He goes to war. It's like watching if you put it on mute, it's like listening to the most masculine women's tennis match you can imagine. Ugh! It's like Neanderthal. Like he's just such fucking brute.
Sounds like you on OnlyFans, Matty.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Me and Babich, we could do something. We could do something. But anyways, it's fun for what it is. I would love a rematch, right? I would fucking love a rematch. It's great filler. It doesn't cost that much money. And it's fun. Some shit's entertaining. Babich wants to go for the Bridgerweight title, which means nothing. On with you there, Savage. Rock on with your bad self. I hope you get the chance to caress Hrgovic's balls too. But before you do that, let's get this rematch.
Hrgovic would bless him, by the way. What are you talking about?
That's what he said.
Babich.
Yeah. He's one of those guys, it's going to be fun while it lasts, period, right? It just is because of the tenacity of the guy. Fucking A, let him go. Let that fucking freak show run. I love it.
Amit Sharma says, on the 10-second warning Andy mentioned, was thinking about that last night. Would it take out some of the late drama from rounds and late in fights? I would say it might add the drama. Sometimes when you hear that 10-second clapper going, that's when they have a firework and they start hitting each other harder on it.
Yeah, as I say, if the guy, Balski, if he'd actually kind of maybe heard that he was trying to kind of press, you could see that he was knackered as well last night, trying to throw his shots late on. But you just know you go, okay, I've got 10 seconds to go. It could be a tight round, and the thing is, it might just be those 10 seconds that might just win you the round, or just you finishing the show strong, landing a few heavy shots, just might be enough for you to get a decision. So who knows? I don't think it would take away any excitement or any drama from it at the end of the day, because the fighters are throwing shots. It's more along the lines for the referee to be prepared to jump in to stop any action for the for the fight ending or for the round ending, basically, in my opinion at least.
One from last week that I missed out. Shout out to Evening Ed. He said, was watching a stream and said that I'd never watch boxing again if Yoka got the result. This was regarding the Tony Yoka-Martin Bacoli fight. Was shitting it when the cards came in, thanks to some ropey GCSE French. Easily the best I've seen from Bacoli, who had looked pedestrian in previous fights, looked like a vicious throwback fighter. And I know it's treason, but he holds himself and moves in a similar way to an older George Foreman. Jean Pascal, no, you didn't see Andy. I'll give my thoughts on the fight pretty quickly. I thought it was a pretty close fight. I'm not sure about the knockdown in round 9. This was a 12-rounder. He beat Fanlong Meng. Meng blocked the initial punch, twisted around. Pascal hit him in the back, and down he went. They called it a knockdown. Early in the fight, Pascal had been hurt a little bit. He looked in fine physical shape. He threw a 2-fisted punch at one point. Poor old Meng, he looks like he's had a hard life. And then you had Roy Jones at ringside, Antonio Tarver, Paulie Malignaggi, quite an unholy trinity of commentators on this new Pro Box TV. What I'm saying is, Andy, it was quite the event. You had a 4-fight welterweight tournament on the undercard called Last Chance. All were 8-round fights, some varying abilities on display, but pretty entertaining night all the same. And Pascal, he's nearly 40 now, far removed from the Froch fight, but he's rumbling on, as we mentioned there, Andy. If you put him in against the likes of Yard, Arthur, Buatsi or whatever, I wouldn't complain against that. He's still a yardstick for those kind of guys, and maybe more.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, as I say, I'm just pulling up his record just now, so I want to get it right. So since 2019, he's beat Marcus Brown, Badu Jack, Fanlong Meng. That's 3 guys at light heavyweight who were top 10. I think even at this point, I mean, as I say, I think 2019. Okay, that was his first fight in 3 years, but even then, 2019 was the year it was even getting considered as comeback fighter of the year for having those actual 2 wins, because the distance gets widely beaten, obviously, against Dimitri Bivol. Has a couple of fights that but in the build up to that, and then loses to Elder Alvarez, loses to Kovalev. We know about that one. He got absolutely badly beaten. Yeah, I still believe. But obviously, I'm going to go back and watch this fight actually, because I said it's one fight I've not caught from the weekend yet. But I still think he's got enough about him at this point. You'll know better than me, obviously, based on having seen the fight. How did he look after 3 years? Is he active enough? Does he look like he's going to gas? Is he managing himself over the course of 12 rounds?
I thought he looked okay, Andy. Early on, I thought Meng was outboxing. I thought it was really close. I wouldn't have been surprised, and upset if Meng had got the result. I mean, it wasn't like Pascal went in and blew him away. But as the fight went on, Pascal's power started to catch up with Meng, as Meng wasn't moving as quickly then. And he started hitting him with harder shots. And that's really when Meng slowed down, was when Pascal started catching him. Early on, Meng looked pretty sharpish, and he was throwing left hands, and he was catching Pascal. So this could be more to do with the limitations of the Chinese fighter than to what Pascal has to offer at a major level.
Is Pascal still kind of throwing those kind of like looping wide shots, etc. as well?
Yes.
You just don't know as well. If one of them was to catch Buatsi, would they go? Because as I said last night, Richards had caught him a couple of times standing up straight, piercing the guard a couple of times. You just wonder if Pascal just really lobs a grenade over that guard. He's going to catch him. Could badly hurt him. I forget who was in the chat actually maybe mentioned about how we've had this perceived conception about Buatsi maybe hiding glass, so people thought maybe last night that he proved he was maybe as chinny as what maybe some people were maybe thinking. But then again, we didn't see him kind of under sustained pressure. I felt a wee bit. I think if you get something against a seasoned vet like Pascal lobbing in those shots, you just don't know. It could just make all the difference. You just don't know. But then again, Buatsi might just be one of these fighters that maybe needs a moment where he's going to be absolutely not petrified, but needs that fear factor to kind of make sure he's absolutely dialed in for the entire fight, and then maybe just pulls it out in the end. But I think at this point that Pascal could be a decent opposition for Buatsi. I'm just trying to think what else off the top of my head. Obviously, Callum Smith I mentioned. I like to see Andre Durrell as well. Buatsi's like top 3 or top 4 with all the bodies at this point, so I want to see him with one of those guys at least. I'm just trying to kind of see if I can find Craig Richards on these rankings, actually. Just
See, you can't prepare for Pascal. That's the tough thing with him. Like, you have to fight Pascal to prepare yourself for the kind of punches that he throws, because they're not easy to duplicate, right? He's got pretty long arms for his height. He throws them wide. It's hard to get sparring for something like that. I mean, you look at people in rematches against him always do better because they kind of understand how to fight him at that point in time.
They're used to it then, yeah.
Yeah, you basically have to get inside of his loop and land something and then crowd him, and it just gets sloppy. Like it's hardly anyone. I'm thinking back, maybe like Kovalev. The Froch fight was fun, but hardly anyone looks good in beating Pascal. It's always a sloppy affair.
Yeah, Kovalev, really, I think, out the two of them. Talking of big bangers, we're going to be previewing the Gervonta Davis for Orlando Romero fight shortly. Bellew the week still to come up as well. No messing about tonight. Going to try and get in and out in around 2 hours if we can. Got some shit to do in the morning. So with that said, Matty, let's go on to the resorts world in Las Vegas. According to Mr. Testator on ESPN, this cost $4 billion to put this together. Maybe not as much in the purses between Danny Dignum and Janibek, Alim Kanuli. One of the biggest world title mismatches of recent years. No surprise to see the WBO involved as usual. I actually felt a bit sorry for Danny Dignum, but more than anything, Matty, I felt sorry for you, just as you got a handle on Janibek Alim Kanuli. He gets a different name handed to him.
Yes, apparently we've been doing it wrong this whole time, Steve. Apparently, because I'd always thought, looking at his name, I'm like, you know, he sounds like he's not some freaking Italian from Naples, right? So I don't know about that one. And it turns out his name is pronounced Alim Hanala, okay? So all that effort that we put in trying to say Alim Kanuli,
you did.
Alim Hanala. Yeah, it was all for nothing. Just pissing into the wind, just like Danny Dignum was doing by taking this fight, Steve. Getting absolutely meleeed from the opening round, going down from a right hook combination that was just beautiful in the first, only to be floored by a left uppercut, which will be in the knockout of the year conversation. And you want to talk about punching power, Steve? Go back and take a close look at how that punch landed. That was with the inside of the glove. He didn't even get his fist turned up for that one.
Wow.
It was a nasty shot. Dude's a real puncher. It will be interesting to see where he goes from here. And Steve, I know it's a shame that he's fighting with the zone and with the Canelo thing. Who knows? But damn, it wouldn't be interesting to see him fight Golovkin in an all Kazakh battle. Two big punchers handing over the torch. I see it at that point in time. But man, this kid's a freaking banger. His name is Janibek Alim Hanala.
I'm going to call him Alim Kanuli because that's what I learned, so fuck it.
Yeah, me too. He didn't seem to fancy the Golovkin fight, did he, Matty? He seemed to think you're supposed to respect your elders and maybe not call him out, which is, if that's a cultural thing, that's fair enough. He probably doesn't want to put too much damage on the Asian version of Triple G now.
Yeah, apparently, unlike in Ireland, they don't have a seniors division, Steve.
The Irish genius. I think Andy Dignum, somebody sent me that picture that's on the screen during the week and said Dignum looks confident, but he seemed really nervous to me. He could hardly maintain a correct stance. He fainted himself to the canvas twice in a row, as if his whole body was made of jelly. And I was just going to say that it's a thankless task for him. And I saw the CompuBox numbers, boys, suggesting he landed 5 punches in the opening round. I didn't catch any of them. I didn't even see him land anything.
Tim Bradley was pissed himself when he with those feints, man.
What was he doing?
I don't know, mate. I think he must have been expecting something, maybe trying to kind of slip it, and he's just like lost. Maybe it was nervous. Maybe he just couldn't keep his legs under him through pure nervousness. I don't know, but mate, this is another circumstance of a guy who's a victim of sanctioned body politics. He's picked up a WBO. I think it was a European belt, whatever it was. So he's paid his dues, he's paid his sanctioning fees, and lo and behold, somehow he's going to be, was it number 3, number 2 in the world for that title shot there last night. And again, you just can't skip levels like this. You know, we were saying that about Buatsi, for example. You just cannot do it. I mean, I don't think he's fought for a British title. I don't even think he's had any more than 16 fights or whatever it is. He just wasn't prepared for it, and I understand he was a decent amateur. I think he might be an ABA champion back in the day, but that's all good and well. But you've got to go up through the pro ranks again, because the British domestic scene, or the as we call it, the old-fashioned route, British, Commonwealth, area titles, European title, do that, then step it up, because you then know where you're at and what you're ready for. But again, as I say, he's had four or five defences of some sort of WBO trinket, paid sanction fees for that. He's been, as a result of those sanction fees, he's been put in high in the rankings. He's got the call. He's took the risk. He's flew to America. Fair play to him. Again, he's banked himself, but fuck me, man, that was brutal. And to get knocked out, like that after looking at his, how he did look, pretty poor, looked like an absolute novice. And again, this is the next ABA champion we're talking about here. He's not a novice, but he looked like one. He bites on feints twice. He drops his knees and he gets hammered up against the ropes. I think he kind of slightly leaned into the shot. Actually, his uppercut got thrown. And as Matty says, he had to twist it. He had to turn his hand fully to try and get full motion onto that shot. But he was absolutely sparked out. I just can't see how you can step over these levels and expect to kind of go in with it. And again, look, Alab Canuli might not be elite, but we've said it before, Steve. We felt that Alab Canuli would give Andrade all he could handle, and he didn't. Well, we're not going to say did he fancy it, but he's went up in weight supposedly before he got injured, allegedly, and ducked the fight supposedly. And this is now Alab Canuli getting his world title chance or interim title chance, whatever it is. It's just, again, politics, sanctioned body politics, guys who are undeserving these title shots. That's just where it is, mate. And again, top rank ESPN events this year have been absolute dog shit.
I agree with you though, and Andy, when it comes to like the skipping the levels, I know we say ad nauseum and everything, but if you look at his last few fights, he's going off. He knocked out Conrad Cummings, knocked out Melee, drew with Sirotkin in his big step up, and then knocked out Grant Dennis, which is all well and good. But it's the way it's changed in recent years. Like back in the day, you would have seen guys built on like domestic television, winning like British, Commonwealth, European, and then we'd all be we'd know about them when they moved up to world level. The likes of Dignum, he's kind of come from nowhere. They're getting these opportunities, and even domestic fight fans, other than the hardcores of hardcores, even know anything about them. We haven't seen him tested at British level. Whereas back in the day, say you had someone like a Kevin Lushing stepped up and fought Tito Trinidad, fell short, fair enough. Ryan Rhodes stepped up and fought Otis Grant, fell short. Even way back to guys like Colin. Yeah, like Colin Jones. We knew them, we saw them. Alex Arthur, we saw them every month or every few months building up to that level. We knew what level they were. These guys now, they're appearing from nowhere. We don't even know much about them, let alone the opponents like Alan Canuli.
Ricky Burns, John Simpson,
yeah,
Colin Lyons, all these guys, mate. Guys who we saw every other few months defending a Commonwealth title against a tough African or a tough domestic, Brit, for example, or getting over a European champion like David Hay fought, I forget the Russian's name at this point, but iced him in one round. He was
Alexander Gurov.
I think he was a decent European level champion at that point. But again, Hay went over some of the domestic routes and that as well, European champion. I think he might be through an area title fight. But again, as I say, some of these fights or opponents that you face, Dignum hasn't even been in a 12-rounder before until last night. That was a 12-round sanctioned fight. I think he'd only been 10 rounds once in his entire career. And something was at 14, 15 fights. That's no...
Yeah, that was the draw against Sirotkin, that's right.
Was it? And Sirotkin's no great, for what I can recall. I think he might even got smashed up in his fight after fighting Dignum. And he's been over the course where it says Conrad Cummins. We know what Conrad's level is, to be honest with you. I mean, there's again, everybody can be world class, elite, world champions and stuff. There is a level. Okay, he's got the call, he's got the chance, but he just wasn't prepared for that. And at least back in the day, mate. Again, I sound like a fucking old head here, but go back to your point. We saw these guys coming up through the ranks. We knew whether how good they were. Or how we could rate their chances against a guy like Alan Canuli, for example. Last week we were saying he's got no chance. At least we like maybe Ricky Hatton or Ricky Burns, John Simpson. At least we kind of knew. Listen, these guys are quite tough. They might not win, but at the same time, they'll probably get a good account of themselves. We had nothing really to compare Dignum at world level there last night, or even domestic level. Again, as I say, Melee and Cummings. I believe they're obviously Cummings is Belfast, but is that Melee no Irish as well?
Melly's from Belfast, Cummings is from Coal Island, so yeah.
Yeah, so as I say, basically he's been fighting at domestic level, fringe, maybe European level if you want to put Sirotkin in there. But again, as I say, it's these bauble belts. They inflate your rankings, they diminish your purse a wee bit to pay for this honour, to get this ranking and to then someday get a call to then go to America and get your arse handed to you. It's just sad to see, actually. He wasn't prepared for that in any way, shape or form. And as I say, look, he was a decent amateur back in his day, as I understand it. But again, amateurs. This is the pro game, and he just wasn't prepared for that type of fight there last night, or that type of opponent, basically. And will he ever be? I don't think so.
No,
he's 30 now. He's 30, 31.
Yeah,
I think
he might not ever fight again. Someone was saying to me earlier, those are the kind of finishes and beatings that you might never recover from. You might never see him again. It was a world title fight in essence, so hopefully he got well paid.
And, well, that's a KO of the year candidate, so we'll always be remembered for that.
Yeah, I suppose so. He'd be glad to hear that. Tell you what, though, Matty, a curious fight on the undercard between Jamel Herring and Jermaine Ortiz, because going in, we didn't really know what to make of it. Was it a step back for Herring to see what he had left? Was it a chance to get a faded name on Ortiz's record? I don't tend to listen to ESPN with the sound on, so I don't know how they framed it, but by the end of the fight, it had framed itself. Herring's career had come to an end, and Ortiz looks like a man who's moving forward.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that until Herring's legs gave out, he was really given a lot of trouble to Ortiz. So I tend to think that he caught the right guy at the right time, and that Ortiz in a stacked 135-pound division isn't going to end up going all that far. I thought that that Herring won 2 or 3 of the first 5 in swing rounds. I think I had 4 and 6. And then basically Ortiz taking over at the end when the older guy just couldn't put it together anymore. It's good to see that he's stepping away, faculties intact, late career coming out of the Marines, made the most out of it that he could, world champion. He'll always have that good win over Frampton, as faded as Frampton might have been. And like I said, Ortiz will have a couple more good fights in him, but his ceiling is rapidly approaching. If they move him in an upwards direction, it'll be next fight or the one after that.
Andy, I'm the same as you. The only other one I saw on that was Tiger Johnson. He was too fast, too strong, too accurate for Augustin Kucharski. Seems like a nice kid, Johnson. He's clearly talented, former 2020 US Olympian with a bright future, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, I think he got to the quarters in the Olympics, lost to, I think it was Ronnie Iglesias, so there's not really any shame there. I even think that the Cubans even turned pro this weekend as well, actually, but I want to try and catch up with that. Yeah, look, the kid looks good. Good right hand on him, at least not really kind of, what was his name? Kucharski, I think his name was.
Yeah, Kucharski.
Caught him a right hand, round about the temple, really kind of twisted his legs up, and then caught him again with another shot, really kind of folded him. Really does look the business in a really good division as well, the welterweight division, but again, 23 at this point. Maybe when he gets to fill out a wee bit, he might have to move up and weight. But I did notice as well his manager's the one that kind of looks after Teofimo Lopez, David McWater. So hopefully he doesn't start looking at all these mad pie charts that they do and that trying to look at his next opponents, for example, his next paydays. So hopefully he stays away for that push for a wee bit longer. But he looks the business like, to be fair. But again, I guess that level of opposition, you're meant to really, aren't you?
Exactly. You don't know what to expect yet, but at the moment he's doing all the right things. Final recap from the weekend before we move on to next week's action then, Matty. I know you only saw one card, but I'll mention all the bits and pieces that were going on. Andrew Kane with a knockout on Friday night over Luis Moreno in the first round. Damaging career loss for Brad Foster off the Cunningham loss. He lost to Ionut Baluta. I only saw the last 3 rounds and it looked pretty nip and tuck. Also, Jan Kosabutski, the slippery southpaw heavyweight I mentioned last week, won with a 5th round retirement over Johan de Hapas. And a couple of decent scraps by all means in Spain. Jairo Noriega undefeated, getting the win over Angel Moreno. And Kerman Leharaga losing again, this time to James Metcalf, aka Kid Shamrock. I believe you saw this one on DAZN, Matty. Matty?
I did catch this one, Steve, and I think that Metcalf definitely did deserve the call on this one. Leharaga, not very dynamic in what he was throwing, not a lot of variety. Metcalf able to catch him with short punches coming in or turn out of the way before much could happen. But there were some close rounds. The scorecards were 96-94 2 times and a 93. I'm sorry. Nope, I'm sorry. That was something else I had written down. My apologies. But I thought the scorecards were way too close for comfort, as I recall. I think that a couple of them were only separated by a point, maybe two. I think there might have been like a 96, 95 kind of thing in there. They really, really tried to screw Metcalf on that one. The ref was absolutely showing favoritism to Leheraga. There were times when he broke him up, and it was kind of one of them Robin Reed, Sven Otka things where you're like, do you just warn him for punching him or something like that?
Some
like,
things never change.
Quite gather what happened there. And I can't, I'm terrible at picking up the names of the referees, but it's just awful. I mean, absolutely awful. And much like the Tony Yoka fight, they tried to stack the cards and there just wasn't enough work in there to get it done. So Metcalf comes home. He should have probably won that fight around probably about a 7-3 kind of thing. And that's even considering, Steve, I think that Leheraga probably got the third round on most of the cards, and Metcalf got robbed out of a knockdown call on that one. He caught Leheraga with a good shot towards the top of the head, and down he went. And the ref ruled it a slip, and it looked pretty clear. And from where I could tell, the ref was standing. He should have made that call. Again, lots of favoritism towards Leheraga in that one. So Metcalf really did have to go into the fires for that one, but he pulled out all right on that one. Good performance, and much like Piccoli, they just barely gave him the credit for it.
Yeah, Metcalf is a good, exciting fighter, much like his father. Takes a lot of punishment as well. On to the questions then, Andy, starting with you. Evening Ed again, throwing one in. He says, the Taylor versus Catchall rematch is one of the biggest UK fights possible at the moment. Do you think Taylor's pride will force him to take the rematch? And what does he have to do differently to win it? I have my own thoughts on this, Andy, but what do you think? Do you think Taylor's pride will force him to take the rematch? And what will he have to do differently?
I don't know, mate, at this point. It seems to have went kind of quiet. I mean, he's obviously lost one of his belts so far. Was it the Palulu mandatory? So he's not taking that on. He's talking about weight issues. What was the talk again about him possibly staying at 140? Was this put out by his team?
I'm not sure, but I don't think the rematch will happen. And if he wants to do anything differently, he's going to have to get rid of old Brillcream.
Yeah, or Mr. What's his name now? British Hair Clinic.
Oh yeah.
Poor Ben. But pride-wise, I don't think so. Look, I think it's a hard one. Actually, I really don't know.
While his pride was damaged with the Catchall fight, possibly, I think he has enough. He will feel maybe he's got enough credit in the bank with the previous wars that he doesn't have anything to prove. He will probably think that.
Possibly, mate. Maybe it could be an ego thing. I really don't know. If he's honest about himself, and that he'll be able to admit that, look, I lost that fight. Nobody else seems to be kind of calling for it, really, apart from the Catchall camp, really.
No, exactly.
Sorry, I need coffee. Give me 2 seconds, mate. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'll say no, he doesn't take the rematch. So I think he's kind of looking for more bigger fights, possibly at welterweight. What does he need to do differently? Well, land more bloody shots for a start. No take too many shots, and just be more active, I think. That's all about it, really, mate. But the way it's kind of going for me at the minute, and that, you know, regardless of how much Jack talks, I can see Josh being the type of cunt that will say, I ain't going to give him another payday. I ain't going to give him another shot at the titles because Jack's kind of calling him.
I think so.
But, and I get it. I totally get where Catchall's coming from. Everybody sees it about Josh sometimes, that he can be a very unlikable character sometimes, but Josh also strikes me as the type of cunt that will just not give a fuck, really. You know, he says, look, if you want to chat away, fucking let him. He's not going to get another payday off me. That's the way I see it, at least, or the way I can see it going. But it's not really a fight, really, that I'm really wanting to see again, to be honest with you. Apart from Catchall, obviously, getting his just due, it's not really something I'm kind of jump up to see either, to be honest with you.
Matty, Michael Thompson's throwing a question for you. He says, do you think that entrances and introductions are taking way too long now, especially on DAZN? The order seems to be announce the fighter entrance, video screen montage, fighter appears and stands around for a bit, ring walk that takes ages, anthems then, finally the fighter introductions. It was actually refreshing to see that at the Charlo versus Castaño Undisputed fight. They just got on with it fairly quickly, then let them get at it. We're all curmudgeons on this show, but I agree with Michael Thompson here, Matty. I love a good ring walker every now and again, but it's just become... absolutely commonplace and just go on for absolutely bloody ages. And when the national anthem starts, you just hear a collective sigh around the world of boxing fans just going, "Oh God, just get on with this."
You know,
Especially at 5 a.m, where you got to sit and watch it.
You know, if they're tremendously interesting ones, like the ones that Tyson Fury puts together, they're great. And I don't want people not doing them because I think it definitely adds to the flavor of the sport. It's, you know, if you do it, it's just the right amount of pageantry. But I'll tell you what does annoy me, Steve. When fighters come to the ring with a rapper who is rapping over their track, which hasn't had the vocals removed. Like, what the fuck is the fucking point? Like, seriously, like, if you're going to do it, you can at least do it at the level of karaoke and remove the fucking words from the song. But they don't even do that. They just fucking go along with it. And it sounds absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it's just dumb. And I don't know why. It's not my thing. And I guess I'll be old and crotchety on this one. But stop doing that shit. Like, come out to a rap song. That's great. I like plenty of rap songs. You don't need to come out to a rapper rapping to his own fucking song. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. These goddamn kids.
Well, Matt, sorry, Steve, I've just to jump in here. It's just to kind of add a wee bit more to that. I was watching an old Mikael Kessler fight the other night there. I think it might have been, I need to go and double check, but I forget who it was. But the MC for the fight was actually introduced into the ring with music. Then the MC got in the ring and then introduced the referee, who was Lewis Pabon, who walked to the Argentinian national anthem with a fucking Panamanian national anthem with a Panamanian flag. Then the fighters got in the ring. Then you had the national anthems for each. I'm like, fuck me, man. So it was like, I watched it. It was like an hour and a half long fucking video. It was like 10 rounds. This fight lasted, but this is what happened. It was like fucking 20 minutes of pageantry before the fight got started. Fucking the referee actually got piped into the fucking. I couldn't believe it.
The Dutch tried too hard to get people to like them.
Danish,
sorry.
There you go, Michael. I'll tell you one thing we can all get on board with. That's Joe Burns throwing in a 179. He said, Leeds have stayed up, boys. Happy days. Evening, Ed. Thank you for the 179 there, Joe. The first super chat of many, or the first of not very many. Who knows? That is all.
God bless Joe Burns. Good old reliable.
Where's Chris Burns, Matty? That's the question.
Yeah, where is Chris Burns? We need the feud. It's part of our life. Come on,
dude. Get stuck in there. One thing that might or might not be part of your life next weekend, Andy, Thursday the 26th of May, the Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission, coming in unarmed, is Shoajon Ergashev, 21-0 with 19 knockouts against Luis Alberto Veron. He's an interesting fighter, Ergashev. More to the point on the undercard, Otto Wallin, heavyweight, against Rydell Booker. Matty mentioned it last week. Booker's an absolute waste of time. Wallin, we know he's had his problems trying to get fights. Dillian White effectively made up a shoulder injury to duck him. But is the career steam of Wallin starting to fade a little bit? What is it, 2 or 3 years now since he fought Tyson Fury? He needs a big fight quickly, doesn't he? I know he fought Dominic Breazeale on the PBC, but that currency from the Fury one, I think they need to start jumping on that now and maybe getting Wallin the PBC at a bigger fight and cashing in on him.
I was going to ask, actually, who's Wallin with the PBC? Is he Uncle Al, is he?
I think he's with Dimitri Salita, but he'll take him anywhere, but he's going to have to take him somewhere.
Oh, exactly. I mean, he didn't take it me fucking Detroit, for Christ's sake, man. That's where fucking careers go to die. But after the Fury fight, I think
not even Detroit, Andy. It's Dearborn. It's Dearborn. It's just another city in Michigan. It's got the highest percentage of Muslims of any city in the United States. So they bring the Swedish guy.
Michigan's is Detroit, isn't it? Or state,
yes,
at least.
Yeah, Detroit is in Michigan. They are in the same state.
There we go. Anyways, Tyson Fury fight was like 2019. He's fought 3 times since then, I think, against, I just pulled it up there, Travis Kaufman, Dominic Breazeale, and Kamil Sokolowski. No great. Absolutely no great. And I know he was champing at the bit to step in, or even trying to get the Dillian White fight to try and honour his contract. He was wanting to step in for other fights. He's just kind of languishing a wee bit as well. I'm just trying to pull up the world rankings to see if he's kind of.
He's one of the most avoided boxers in boxing at the time. I mean, he really is. Because he fucked Fury up, and he could have gotten that TKO win in any number of other venues with any number of other refs.
You have to wonder though, right? Because it's been like 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, since the Fury fight. Was that his apex? Was that him fighting up, on the night, fighting his absolute peak? Or is he just is that it for him now? I mean, it's like, who needs him? If they looked at the Fury fight and said, listen, nah, he's just too much hassle. That's a guy we can only fight with as a mandatory defence at some point. I mean, I'm just pulled up the WBC rankings. He's ranked 10th. that guy's not going to get a call anytime soon. Don't know what's happening with Fury at this point, actually, as well, if he's going to retire or whatever. But you would think he would need to go with Uncle Al to try and get some options, maybe like a Frank Sanchez, Andy Ruiz, maybe even a Wilder fight if he's going to come back and fight at some point. Who knows?
Wilder's if Fury retires, Wilder's in line for that WBC shot.
Yeah. Imagine it against Frank Sanchez too as well. You just never know.
That's a clever fight, actually.
Yeah, but I'll say Wallin wins this fight next week. To be honest with you, Rydell Booker, I've not seen him for a wee while, but I think he's like journeyman status these days, isn't he?
42.
Oh, Wallin will definitely win. Yeah.
I'll say he beats him on points. So I think Wallin's one of these guys. It could be the occasion. The bigger the occasion, he might just rise to it. But I think if he's fighting at this level still after so many years, it might just be a matter of motivation for him, really. Maybe just a payday, go through the motions, get a win, move on to the next one.
Rydell Booker started his professional boxing career when Bill Clinton was still in office.
Wow, right? So he was getting smoked off Lewinsky at the time. Then, I take it.
Yeah, think about that. Like, he is as old as that blowjob. He is as old as the semen on the blue dress. His boxing career.
Yeah, he's been going a while. Yeah, Wallin needs to make a statement, and hopefully Salita can push him into a decent fight. Joe Burns has thrown in another 179. He says Chris Burns is on holiday with James Helder. So Joe's thrown in the 179 on his behalf. Andy, I hate to do it to you with the heavyweights, but I did notice one for next week in Germany. You've got Mahmoud Char himself going against Michael Valish, Ali Demirizen against Kevin Kingpin Johnson, Victor Weighorst is on there as well, and Christian Hammer. This is where all German heavyweights go to die, man. Are you going to be indulging in the VPN?
I'm just going to pull up the card, mate. Just want to see who's
that should just be a prize fighter lineup. Am I wrong?
That's brutal,
I'll need to check, actually. I'll need to check to see if it is going to be. I dare say it will be online somewhere, but I mean, there's jack alone domestically for us next week. Nothing. Okay, Steve, guess what? I might just tune in for it.
You might indulge, Andy.
I might indulge, mate, because I say there's nothing real. I'll need to go double check. I don't think there is anything on next.
No,
next
I don't see it. I don't see anything.
Apart from Davis, obviously, but if there's a link for it, and if it's no like a subscription website, I might tune into it. Victor Weighorst is okay. Demirizian, I've seen him before. I think he had his first L, was it in America, I believe, against
the Jagba.
That's it, the Jagba.
I'm sure Tim Boxeo will have some link for you.
Yeah,
I'm sure it
exists.
And Manny Char obviously getting fucked over by Don King for his belt as well, didn't he? Poor Manny. So, we'll wait to see what happens with him. But yeah, it's at least it's some action at least to watch next week when you're patching the wife off, So who knows? We'll probably tune in. But Kevin Johnson, Alan Demirizian. But I will say, Kevin Johnson, when was it now? I'm going back maybe 2 years. He fought that. Remember that young Pablo Hernandez, mate?
Mm-hmm.
He was decent at cruiserweight. Well, Safety Pin came out there and just dropped a grenade and went to fucking war with Hernandez.
Finally, after all those years.
Exactly, mate. I was like, where's this been for the last God knows how many years? Smashed him up in 7 rounds, knocked him out. Probably one of the KO contenders for the club show of the year, actually, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was interesting to see him. And he comes out in the next fight and gets beats off Jagger Kabayel. So he seems to be kind of going after that German cash just now, to be honest with you. Just a wee bit like, and after he's done there, I'd imagine he ended up going to Latvia like Danny Williams did, try to kind of chase up the last remaining shekels of his career,
Isn't Danny Williams still fighting in Latvia?
Yeah. And I'm sure I don't know if it's been changed since, but I remember for the Hernandez fight, I'm sure Safety Pin was trained by a woman. I forget who it was, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Oh, good old Safety Pin still knocking on. Before the big fight preview, Matty, we'll have a look at the Nutters League. You can come in with who got what points last week, but this is the amalgamated Nutters League run by Joe Kennedy, no less. Ted is there at the top, a point ahead of Greg, a point ahead of Wellings himself, Mr. Prediction King. Can't get a prediction right, they say, Matty. There he is at number 3. John UK and John Ireland are having a fight for 4th place. You got Andrew McCormick, Jim, Ben, Ant, Andy Patterson as well. Joe Kennedy himself, Ryan Deal, Mike Wigley, Kevin, Justin Dull, Joe DeGoat, Declan Graffin, Danny Young, Rob Kelly there, mid-table obscurity, Mo, C. Lamont, Matty DG himself, Holly is in there. She's doing well. Dan, Patrick, Craig, George, Gary Taylor, Damo and Chris. And then right down the bottom, we've got James Windsor, Dave Wilson, Benjamin, head of the Asylum Technical Department, Owen, Hatton, and MTK enforcer himself, Ricky Graville,
yes.
Down with 8 points.
Can I just say something to Joe, by the way? Congratulations, Joe. You spelt my surname correctly. Not like any of these twats who spell it the English way. Double T. It's a Scottish way. It's 1T. So well done,
Well
mate.
done,
Thank
Joe.
you.
You fuckers don't even use Q's correctly. Don't you tell other people how to spell.
You shut up, you Colquhoun.
God love him for the fucking super chat, but how the hell is anyone to guess? It's just there. It's just fucking there for some reason. Like Gary Coleman in 90s sitcoms. Just like, what do you know? A cameo by Gary Coleman. There's a Q. Anyways, this right now we're sitting Rob moving out into the lead with 41 points. Steve right behind him at 39. Andy slipping away with 0 points this last week at 35, and me rounding out the back, of course, at 32. This is it's interesting between Rob and Steve right now, but Andy, man, I tell you what, you're not. You better be a late half runner here, buddy. 'Cause you're starting to fade in the mid rounds.
Craig Richards really let me down there last night, mate. I'm sitting there waiting for him to try and pull it out the bag late on. I'm like, you bastard, because I was wanting to try and catch up some points, because obviously, see what happens here now, and all Rob needs to do really is match my predictions going forward, and that's it. Same with Steve, for example. And also, I try to mix it up a wee bit, trying to get those points back a wee bit too soon. So maybe gambled a wee bit too quick. But I'll come again. Jade can't.
So whoever's top of the league, then Matty, should you have them pick last so as to avoid people?
Ooh, I like that. But Rob's not even on the call right now, Steve. I feel like you're just dragging this out, hoping that he gets here at some point in time before we go into the value of the weeks and everything. It's like, Jesus fuck, Rob. But anyways, that's a good idea. And if he shows up on time, we just might start doing that.
But it's the picks this week.
Yeah,
you got fucking lucky with that Tevin Farmer fight getting pulled, mate.
Did it not even happen?
I got pulled. And it wasn't in Africa. It was meant to happen in Dubai, apparently.
Yeah, that's right. I heard that too.
They changed it. That's not great.
What about the Benavidez over/under, Matty? What happened with that, with the knockdowns and all?
Yeah, well, that everybody but Andy got a point.
How?
Because you picked over.
Oh, you thought he would get knocked down over 2.5 times, and he didn't. He got knocked down once, didn't he?
Well, it was total knockdowns of the fight, even if Benavidez got knocked down himself. So, but nonetheless, Andy still lost.
Oh well.
You're saying that with quite delightful tone in your voice here, Matthew.
Andy, let me say, I could give a fuck if I win this thing, because just knowing that I live rent free in you and Rob's head all fucking year long it's all the joy in the world that could be provided to me. There's no monetary value.
You didn't want me living rent free in your head, because what happens? I'll just take a shit in there at some point and leave it and walk out. You're
gonna rage quit, Andy.
I'll do something. I'll drop something. Don't you worry about it. You can't. I'm capable of doing something, mate.
You thought he was pissed off after Povetkin. Oh man,
he's not going to acknowledge the league anymore.
I'm not that bad. I'm not gonna be that bad. But as I said, I'll find something. Don't you worry about it.
So this week our picks are gonna be Luis Ramos against Luke Santamaria. That's a really interesting fight at 154 pounds. Santamaria coming out of nowhere, getting a couple of good wins here recently, and then I'm setting the over/under of rounds for Gervonta Davis and Rolly Romero at 4.5. So that's 1 minute and 30 seconds into the 5th round. Do you think it will go before or after that?
You're a fucking wanker, man.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find actually where the books are setting that line. That's me winging it.
I'll tell you what you should do. You should actually make it there is Andy Lara fight against Gary Spike O'Sullivan. Does Spike get out the first round? That's what it should be.
No. You know Lara's going to carry him 12, Andy, man. Don't you? Go on, we'll talk about that now. Come on, what do you think about it?
Watch Lara go age over fucking night and watch Gary fucking Spike O'Sullivan somehow pick off a middleweight title.
Right,
watch it fucking happen.
Take that pick. Take that pick. You absolute coward.
Right, so hang on a minute. Are you going for the Jesus Ramos Luke Santamaria one, Matthew, right?
Yes.
So Ramos is the guy who beat Vladimir Hernandez and beat Javier Molina, yeah?
Yes. Yep.
And he's going in against Santamaria. Actually, he's had a couple of good wins, hasn't he, Santamaria? Who did he beat? Devin Alexander?
Abel Ramos. But that was under
Abel Ramos.
That point, mate.
So he's doing okay. Oh, that's not actually a bad fight, I think then.
No.
So if Ramos stops him, that'll be a reasonable statement then, Matty.
Yeah, absolutely. And this fight is at 154, and Santa Maria's been doing most of his work at 140, 147, but he is lanky. He's a big guy at the weight. So interesting fight, real interesting fight. I lean towards Santa Maria pulling off 3 upsets in a row because I think the odds are going to be in Ramos's favor. But I just don't know yet. You know what? I'll let it down first. I'm going to go with Santa Maria by decision.
I'll take Ramos by decision.
Ramos by decision as well. I think Ramos is going to be a star. I think he's a fighter on the way up. And Santa Maria's tough and he's on a good run, Andy. But I agree with you. I think Ramos on points.
Yeah, plus as well, I think as Matt said, Santa Maria's been kind of campaigning around about light welterweight. Couple of good wins. He's got that Michael Fox on his record. That was under one. I wouldn't really rate that, to be honest with you. That was under had been washed by that point. He'd been struggling with opioid addiction as well at one point through painkillers for a broken nose for years. It doesn't really. I don't think he hits that hard as well. I don't think. So yeah, I'm going to say Ramos. Yeah, I'm going to say points. I was going to double guess myself and say a knockout, but I'll go for the decision.
You know, he hits hard enough, though, is the thing, and it's tough to say how hard he punches because look at his level of opposition considering the number of fights that he had. You know,
if you look at like Fox and Ramos, probably better opposition on his resume than maybe what Ramos has maybe faced at this point. Is there any names that he's faced at this point?
Who?
Well,
Ramos.
he stopped
Javier Molina,
which was a good win, wasn't it? Stopping Hernandez because he'd beaten Julian Williams before.
I just noticed that he actually beat that Javier Molina, who actually got beat against Robbie Davis last night.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, points for me, I think. I don't think he'll stop Santa Maria. Here, I'm going to have to give a shout out to Kieran McConnell, by the way, boys. Long overdue. €52 he's thrown in here. So he's thrown in an extra 2 to cover the tax. Best boxing podcast out there, he says. Watching Babich last night and was wondering how low down the weights could you go and find a fighter that could beat Babich. In my opinion, Lomachenko beats him and Crawford or Spence knocks him out. I've never seen a slower fighter. You'd fancy Canelo and Bivol's chances against him, Andy, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We just found Canelo's path to the Bridgerweight Championship.
I'm trying to think. I think Sonny Edwards would beat him actually just by jabbing and running around the ring. So that's me went down to flyweight, 112 pounds.
I'd quantify that and say if it's a 22-foot ring.
Yeah, well, I suppose, but I'd say that guy chasing you all night would be mental. I don't know, mate.
Alim Kanuli.
You need to think of someone a wee bit more kind of like
Danny Dignum.
Middleweights. David Benavidez definitely would beat him.
Yeah, I don't know. You get down there. I mean, it would feel like a teenager getting chased by a White Walker on fucking Game of Thrones.
But you would need to say though. I mean, it does land some when it does land. Actually, it looks like it could fucking really hurt you. And it's just well shots he's throwing. So you need to say if he was to land on some of these fucking smaller guys, he'd wipe them out possibly.
Look who decided to show up.
Well, fair play to Kieran McConnell. At least he said best boxing podcast out there. Did you see the comment last week from Tosh Bear Grylls, whatever he calls himself? He said, "Fucking brilliant show, lads. Still the second best podcast out there." And like a little clapping emoji, like the second best priest. I think you would be the second best priest, Ted.
Who's the fucking first one? Is it fucking Russ? If it's Russ, I'm in the multiverse somewhere and I don't know what the fuck is going on.
With the second best podcast, Rob. The second best podcast.
Fucking hell. Who's the first, Tosh? We never got that answer.
Oh,
imagine it was Fight Disciples or something is the first.
Oh, I know, yeah. I'd have to ban him off the commenting page for that, Rob.
Yeah, well, he could be getting audited anyway, so.
Hey, Rob, I had an idea I wanted to throw by you.
Oh, fucking great. Here we go.
An all-female rap group called the Poontang Clan.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see it.
All right.
Here, Rob.
Did you growl at it, though?
Take a look at it.
What did you take a look at from over the weekend, Rob? Craig Richards, who once lost to Frank Buglioni on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I watched the fella who lost to Frank Buglioni on a Saturday night lose to another lad on a Saturday night. Look, I have to fucking frame this right. Well, I don't really. I could say what I want to. I don't give a shit if it comes across as matchroom hate or not. It's not. I'll tell you that it's not. I was high on Buatsi, as everybody was. And I said last week he kind of didn't have the dance partner to bring it out in him. And he did have it last night, but I don't like. Have to laugh at Fauntleroy, Eddie, even Ed. Oh, you pal. He's out last night, man, and he is selling us this rematch that we must see now between Buatsi and Craig Richards, because that was such a close fight, it wasn't? And it was such a great fight, but it wasn't. But the reason that we want to see that he wants to push a rematch between Craig Richards and Joshua Buatsi, honestly, is he knows based on that performance, if he goes up the levels and he fights Bivol or Beterbiev, he get fucking smashed to bits. Beterbiev would ragdoll him, and I think Bivol would out-jab him. Richards was out-jabbing him at phases last night. Nothing against Buatsi. Lovely kid. Seems like a good guy. Decent fighter. Virgil Hunter and him. I just don't know. Like, if did Virgil Hunter just have a great fighter with Andre Ward that he helped develop, and he hasn't been able to kind of get that across to any other fighters. It seems to me the other fighters that he works with haven't really ever, there was a mess with the Angulo one. There was Amir Khan. There's Buatsi. Not that he wasn't giving him good instructions. I think he was giving him good instructions, but I don't think Buatsi started jabbing until around the 5th round. I think he was blowing through his arse after 5. Thought he took a lot of breaks last night. I thought he was hit very easily. And just against, the likes of Beterbiev, if they're the measuring stick, or Joe Smith, they're one of those guys, just see him falling short, and I don't see him. And then unfortunately for Eddie, he's not a star. He's not a draw. He's not going to be a star, and he's not going to be a draw. So, I think he ordered a big absolute roll of bubble wrap and cotton wool for Conor Benn, because it's Conor Benn or bust now for the UK, isn't it? Like, it's got to be Conor Benn or bust for the UK market, like, because he hasn't got anybody else coming up, and Buatsi's not going to be it. It was a decent fight. I thought Richards had moments in the fight. He definitely didn't let him have it his own way for the whole fight. He's competitive in every round, even though he was losing most of them. Not as many as Tony Bellew thought he was losing, but he was losing a few along the way. And I just was a bit underwhelmed for a Saturday night. So, Joshua Buatsi on a Saturday night, very underwhelming performance in what was supposed to be a kind of a breakout performance for him. Don't see him driving those subscription numbers for DAZN through the roof with performances like that, and fights like that. And it says a lot of fucking Alan Babich is the one that gives you the most action on your card on a Saturday night. Like, so I don't know. Like, I don't know what you guys thought. Maybe I've got it all wrong, but I didn't see anything special with Buatsi last night. I definitely wouldn't fucking run to watch one of his next fights or be up, kind of on the edge of his seat about his future. That was a fight
he should have been fighting at least 2 years ago.
Yeah. Based on his kind of trajectory, you would have thought he'd fight a guy like that 2 years ago and be in the mix now for a world title. Eddie obviously knows his fighters better than we do, and he matches them accordingly a lot of the time. But Conor Benn's not going to be in a big fight anytime soon, is he? For every fucking Boots Ennis' name that they call out, you get a Chris Van Heerden. So that's not going to happen. He can talk all he wants about who he has in the States. Canelo Alvarez. You didn't build Canelo Alvarez, dude. Canelo Alvarez was a tried and tested pay-per-view star from HBO back to Showtime, back to wherever. Katie Taylor, he's banging on about Katie Taylor, global platform, Katie Taylor versus Serrano and Croke Park. There's nothing to say that we can have fights in Ireland yet, right? So either Eddie knows something we don't know, which is quite possible, or he's just selling you a dream of an 80,000 stadium fight for Katie Taylor. By the way, you didn't build Katie Taylor either, dude, right? Peters did that, and so did fucking her Olympic career, and Marty Morrissey and the boys built Katie Taylor. That was nothing to do with you. You had two ready-made stars with Canelo and Katie Taylor, and as well as that, I think that was a big fight. Don't know if that's a massive draw anywhere outside of Ireland. So things looking grim for DAZN. Eddie's getting a bit rattled, even Ed. I see that he's calling Ellerby. It's funny, he kind of uses the same tactic, doesn't he? Anyone that gets under his skin when he's firing back at him. They're old and they're bitter and they've lost the plot and they're irrelevant. So Ellerby's old, he's irrelevant, he's lost the plot. But so is Frank Warren old and irrelevant and lost the plot. And so is Shelley Finkel old and irrelevant and lost the plot. And Lou DiBella was old and irrelevant and lost the plot. And everybody's old and irrelevant and lost the plot, bar fucking Eddie. Like, Eddie's the only one who hasn't lost the plot. So he lost a lot of purse bids, but he hasn't lost the plot. So,
Even
it was an underwhelming weekend for boxing. I guess Benavidez and Lemieux, we learned absolutely fuck all from that fight. Like, and you know, people can be out now and say Benavidez gives Canelo a fight, and maybe he probably does give Canelo a fight, but that's that fight he is 150% not getting. So there's no point talking about it. Him and Plant need to fight each other. Both of them are on PBC. That seems to be the natural fight to make at 68. There's a bit of a grudge match there. Benavidez, you know, throws punches and bunches. I think he fucking... I used to say before on the pod about fucking show me the fella who gets hit with fucking 3 left hooks without ducking. Well, there he was last night. David Lemieux fucking hit him with 7 fucking 8 left-hand shots in a row before he got his head out of the way.
Benavidez is the new Josh Kelly.
This is it. Shades of Josh Kelly there against David Lemieux. But not to worry. We have Sandy Lara versus fucking Spike O'Sullivan coming up, so that should fucking whet the appetite for the real fight fans out there. But more importantly, how did I do in the prediction league? Where am I now? Am I still in the lead, Maddie? No, you don't have to give me the whole fucking rundown. Just tell me, am I winning or not?
You sure are, Rob. You sure are. You're up on Steve by 2 points.
Woo!
Hang on,
Andy's
Rob.
out of the race, is he?
Let's just check Joe Kennedy's league.
Fuck
You're
Joe
1,
Kennedy's
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th there, Rob. 17 places behind Wellings in 3rd place.
Yeah, but you were in it from the start, though. That's not fair. I was only in it for fucking like 2 weeks ago. It's not fucking... It's a fake league. Yeah, but yeah, look, we keep going. Anyway, sorry. Evening, guys. Hope everyone's well.
Good old Dr. FMG there. I tell you what, Steve, the bucks are just rolling in.
Yeah, the Dr. FMG, actually, Andy has thrown in $14.99 Australian dollars. He's in the Patreon as well, so he shouldn't be throwing money in on the super chats. Dr. FMG, don't be doing that again.
Yeah.
But he did.
Yeah.
He's a doctor, you know.
He did say Virgil Hunter is the USA version of the Dark Fraud.
Might not be too far off there.
When I read that comment, actually, I don't know if anybody remembers the old OTG podcast with Paddy Cronin and that. They actually took some voice clips for the corner work that Virgil Hunter was doing a few years back. I forget what fucking fight it was, but they actually says, "Compose yourself," because they call him what was they call them again? The horse whisperer, because he kind of talks very quietly. And that he says, "Compose yourself, take a swallow." Behave yourself. Breathe. I'm like,
he always leans through the ropes, doesn't he?
He never seems to get in the ring.
Go down low.
Yeah, he's got this weird way of talking to you.
Esoteric instructions.
He had a great one for Ward of Kovalev when he was like, Leonard got up. Someone else got up. Robinson got up. You got up. That was it.
I don't remember that.
That was probably the most intense he ever got in a fight.
Yeah, that was about as animated as he ever got.
Sometimes it just shows you. Sometimes it can be the fighter that can make the trainer. It really can, isn't it? Like me, man. Andre Ward obviously was one of a kind, and I know they say that Ward was taught everything by Virgil Hunter, but I think deep down Ward was a special talent that he's just natural to him. I mean, I don't think I can't remember the last time he lost actually as an amateur even, but fuck me, he went years.
He lost when he was 11 or something. Was his last?
Yeah, it was something wild, 20-odd year or something like that.
Well, he fought the last 4 years of his career with only one arm, basically, too.
Yeah, he had a problem with his shoulder. I think he obviously had problems with his hands and that as well.
That's right. Against Alexander Brand, he had some kind of he'd come back from some kind of shoulder issue. That's right.
One hand against Frotch as well that he drove into Carol Frotch's face for the whole night. Fucking amazing.
Carol Frotch shared a close fight.
Do you know what I'll always remember most from that fight, though? There was some kid in the crowd. It probably sounded like they were about 12 or 13, and they were just chanting SOB, SOB all throughout the fight. It was fucking great.
I'll tell you what, mate. Never watch Carol Frotch against Arthur Abraham with the sound on, because I've got his wife Rachel tuned up to the microphone. Come on, Carl! Come on, Carl! Come on! Constantly, every fucking second of the fight.
She's lucky she's pretty. She's lucky she's pretty.
I just remember my override memory from that fight is Frotch walking back to the dressing room, telling somebody beside him, like, my hands don't even hurt. I couldn't fucking play a glove. I couldn't hit him. Like, fucking my hands don't hurt. I haven't fucking caught him at all for the whole night. And then said that he was unlucky to lose a couple of weeks later when he regained his senses.
I remember that on the radio. It was a close fight, close decision. Close decision. I never even gave him a round. It was a fucking 12-0 shutout.
Fucking one-handed beatdown. Brilliant.
Fucking brilliant.
Right, let's get on to the action for next week. Then we have already touched upon the Gervonta Davis Rolando
Speaking
Romero
of touched up,
fight. Yeah, speaking of people getting touched up, Rolly's in the ring.
Raleigh's looking in great shape, by the way. I don't know if anyone's covered that. Have you seen him?
Oh, he's smart. That's the juice. He's definitely on the juice for
He's
this
looking
one.
shredded, Rob. What do you think's going on there?
Massive.
Hard work and dedication.
I think he had some. He made the best work. He put his demons to the side when he was inactive that time, and he's just trained really hard and been really dedicated throughout that period of inactivity. And now he's his body is reaping the rewards for that, Steve. That's what's happened there, definitely.
Is it going to pay off on fight night then, Rob? That's the main question.
Do you know what? I don't know. Like, he's super confident for a fella of his ability. Like, from what I've seen of Rolly Romero. From what I've seen of him to this point, I don't think he stands a chance against Gervonta Tank Davis. And I think Tank is coming off a fight like against Cruz, late replacement, who just happened to be an absolute fucking hard bastard and a guy who will prove major value for money down the line. So I think that's probably going to turn out to be an underrated win on Gervonta Davis's career when all's said and done. But I think he'll fly Romero's head into fucking Rose's head. Like, well, I could be wrong. Like, well, I just can't see anything else apart from a Davis beatdown. Unless Romero can totally get into his head and like take some shots from him early and then have some success in the middle rounds and maybe make Davis second guess himself. There's a lot of talk that this is Davis's last fight with the money team, etc. He's going to be a free agent, yada yada. You know, he could have one eye off the ball. There could be other offers made or whatever. All he has to do is beat Rolly and he's a free agent, free to negotiate bigger bucks for himself in the future. But I cannot see anything other than a Tank Davis win via brutal KO, probably into the last third of the fight.
Jack WD says Rolly punches like he's holding shopping bags. We've discussed this before, Andy, this fight, and I stick to it. I think Rolly is absolutely so confident. He is deluded enough to believe that he hits hard enough to beat Davis, and I genuinely think he'll come out banging. To his credit, I don't think he'll shell up, you know. I think he'll try and jab early. It'll end up in a firefight, and he'll just get stopped in the 5th round. That's my prediction, but I think he'll come out banging.
He needs to, mate, because he's got a lot of shit to back up after all that talk he's done anyway. And by the way, he should already have an L on his record after that Jackson Marenez fight, who he should have given the guy a rematch. Pity Donny wasn't on the call because his dad made sure he got that win that night as well.
Actually, his dad had that as close as any. Yeah, he had the closest card of any of the judges. Yeah.
Which is disgraceful, to be honest with you. I thought Marenez was a far more worthy winner. Look, there's some people actually throwing up the fact is that Davis has like struggled with like Isaac Cruz, for example, right? Who's like a wee demon. You could maybe say Barrios gave him some troubles in that as well. And some people are saying like he struggled with Santa Cruz before he fucking iced him. But look, that's their opinions at the end of the day. I think the only thing that Romero's going from possibly is his size and a bit of power. But I don't think his power is anywhere near what Davis is, to be honest with you. But then we've seen Davis struggle with like Gamboa, for example. So I don't know if it's maybe motivation. I don't know if there's anything going on behind the scenes, for example. We know he's had these problems in the past. Another thing is, well, if anybody factor in the fact is if this fight does go the distance and it is somewhat kind of competitive, and that he's meant to be leaving Floyd, I think Floyd maybe kind of puts a spanner, watch it, try and get him fucked over and make sure he gets that L before he leaves him. I wouldn't put it past him, to be honest with you. But
is Romero still with Floyd, Andy? Because he signed with Floyd way early in his career, didn't he?
Did he? I can't mind, to be honest with you, mate.
I'm pretty sure he did. He used to spar at the Money Gym and all, and then Mayweather signed him based on that. I don't think he's still with him, but he was.
That was a smart investment from Floyd, that one, wasn't it?
He was making smart investments in Dubai and we went to a shop and he's fucking buying that. Fuck me. But I'm trying to think now. Obviously, I remember Romero. Did they not get touched up off Avery Sparrow? And I'm sure Marenez tagged him a good few times in that as well. I just think with the power and size, might have something about him, but I think the way he throws his shots, he's technically he's not great. He's defensively he's wide open. He likes to try and fight off that kind of like that Philly shell for time to time. Doesn't he look good doing it? I've seen some of his bag work. Doesn't look great as well. Some of his shadow boxing was kind of like weird looking in that as well. And I know that's just training work, but in the ring, I think Davis will get to him probably around about the latter half. Possibly a brutal uppercut, beat down of some sort. But at the same time, you wonder as well as if Romero can hurt him, can you see Davis maybe on the back foot like he was a wee bit against Isaac Cruz a wee bit, who was giving him absolute hell, possibly.
Northern Monkey's thrown in 179. He says, "Here, your money grabbing bastards. Thank you very much." He's also asked me to play the Ricky Gravel clip. Unfortunately, I had to delete a load of clips to make way for some new ones, so no Gravel. I'll try and get a new Ricky Gravel clip for you soon. Maybe shagging a dead swan.
Well, there's plenty of them. So look at you. Okay, now.
I think he needs to. I was coughing there again, Steve.
Yeah,
sorry.
go on.
I think he needs to be intelligent of some sort, Romero. He can't decide just to go in there and have a fucking firefight with Davis because Davis will counter him with something and catch him. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, I'll stick with the knockout. I'll go for around about the 8th or the 9th. I expect Romero to have some sort of success. I'm interested to see how the size and his power does play up against Davis, who's been smaller, squatter, and obviously has his own power and that. But I think it's interesting. I mean, I'll tell you what, if the fight happened when it was meant to happen, I was all over Davis, baptising this kid, fucking blessed him beyond belief. But considering what Rob was saying, and obviously Rob put the video up in the Nutters Messenger chat there last night, the fucking size of fucking Romero just now is absolutely incredible. He has got fucking pecs, abs, 6-pack, biceps like fucking pythons, man. I kid you not, the guy is fucking jacked. So I don't know if there's any drug testing involved here, but I would put him under a dark light just to make sure he's no fucking glowing green, because there's something fucking sniffy about that light.
He's a good tape anyway, and he's like the fucking last action hero, man. You want to see Romero? Like,
he's fucking bad. He is, isn't he? He's jacked. Steve, if you
when you look at him, I'm sure there's before and after pictures. Some of the get a life, whoever's going to do this on the internet, get a before and after picture of Rolly Romero. But I've never seen him looking like this before. Anyway, I'll tell you that. I was like, what the fuck, man?
It's like the transformation in like 6 to 12 months is incredible for his last fight. Honestly, when I saw it, I was like, no fucking way. The thing is, Rob, is that the picture I think you showed us was actually, it was not directly after a workout, so maybe it is a wee bit slow after a workout, but not by that size. Fucking hell, man.
135 pounds. He's like a fucking brick shit house. Fucking hell.
Chase Athletic says, I think Rolly is stronger. He has to clinch and make it rough. The thing is, Matty, I think Rolly's definitely playing that up. He's been mentioning the fact that Gervonta Davis is a weight bully. He says, I'm a lot taller than him with his little T-Rex arms. I'm going to put my hand on his head and keep him at bay, you know, the way an adult does to a child. So he obviously thinks that he's the bigger man, the stronger man, and he will try and jab at some point. And Andy mentioned success for Romero. I think Romero might hurt Davis. I have nothing to base that on other than a hunch, but it maybe not hurt him, but maybe like ruffle him up a bit, disorganise him. It's going to be an interesting dynamic compared to Cruz, who was actually somehow smaller than Davis, going in against Romero, jacked up to the gills here, who's going to be a lot bigger. So there are interesting things at play in this fight, but I'll still go for Davis KO.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, you know, we're obviously all going that direction. But here's the thing about Romero. Having watched a little bit more tape of him today, is that
unrivaled work from Maddie, isn't it? Really on the public. Compared to the rest of us, it's unrivaled the amount of tape he watches.
I'm telling you, Romero has real power. Okay, he has a couple of knocked his opponents out cold KOs on his resume. Not saying they're highest level of opposition, but you have to be a puncher to make those things happen.
At the same time, though, Matty, right? Consider how he throws shots with the power that he's got. I'm surprised he hasn't broke a hand at some point in his career. Like the way he throws shots is just fucking wild.
He has a bonkers style with those elbows.
It's crazy, man.
You're right.
Wild.
He throws, and he shifts a lot though when he's throwing punches. He doesn't. He's not static at all. So he's moving around, and it's in his footwork is sloppy. His punching is sloppy, but he has real power. And he has incredible self-belief. But what I think is going to make this fight really fun is he likes to fight at about the same distance that Davis fights at. So if he doesn't try to really use his height and reach advantage, there's going to be some banging exchanges in here. And I agree with Steve. I think that that Tank is getting hurt in this fight. But I also think that it's going to be a firefight that's going to end pretty quickly. So you know, I'm definitely thinking it's going to be ending before the middle of the 5th round, give or
yeah.
Steve.
What about the points and predictions then, Matty? Go into that now. Then, if
sorry, Steve, I have that wrapped up this week. Sorry to jump in on you. We're going to go If Raleigh hits the deck 2.5 times inside the parlay on the third, we got odds of 300 to 64 on that. So it's looking good on the bookies.
Minus 364, you mean?
Oh, sorry, plus 300 on that. You can get plus 300 on that one.
No, Rob. I'll tell you what it is. It's really simple. And you already caught you saying you thought last third of the fight, so you have plenty of gap
Over.
room.
The over.
I'm set. Yep, over under at 4.5 rounds. Andy said last half of the fight, so I did that for him. But Steve said,
how can you say over? How can you say over under at 4.5? The over is over 6 rounds, isn't it?
No,
that's the over.
They said them all different, and that's but.
I thought you said 5.5. No, didn't you?
I said 4.5.
It's going to be 6.5, surely.
I'm setting this motherfucking line because there is no line available that I looked up. All right, so you
a very autocratic fucking person you are, Matty.
Are you? But you guys are taking the overs, right?
Over 4.5 rounds. Yeah, I think it'll be in 5 or 6. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so 4.5 rounds is a minute and a half into the 5th round, Steve.
Okay, I'll go over then.
All right, I'm the only one going under.
Hey.
Right.
Because the fights that you guys are basing Romero on are taller fighters too. What's given him a lot of trouble has been taller fighters, and I get that should work, like opposite of the way I'm thinking. But I think the exchanges it's going to lead to are going to be brutal, and it's going to be fast, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be it's going to be more competitive than Lemieux Benavidez. But you're talking the same amount of. You're talking within a couple of rounds of that, really.
More competitive than Lemieux Benavidez. Well, that's the benchmark of a competitive fight, anyway.
What about Rob's pick for the other one? What was the other one again, Matty?
Yeah, who are you taking between Jesus Ramos and Luke Santamaria, Rob?
Fuck off, fam, will you? Santa Claus is coming to town. It's going to be Santa Maria's night that night by a decision.
That's what I took.
You sure you want to stick with that?
Yeah, why not? Need a bit of drama in the leagues are gone boring now. What the fuck's sake? Need a bit of excitement.
I love this so much.
Right, have you got all the info you need, Matty? Yeah,
we're good, Steve. We're good.
Right, let's get on to Value of the Week, then episode 475, and we'll finish up for the evening. We won't do 2 hours, but we'll try our best here. Andy's still with us, so is Matty, so is Rob, along with me, Steve, setting us up for this Value of the Week this week. It's the man himself, the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury.
Тайсон Фьюри в говнище, бедняга. Еле-еле передвигается. Здоровый тип. Блин, его тачку не садит. Блядь.
Fucking hammered.
They wanted to go rejected, man. Look how many of them wanted in that taxi. Look like fucking 10 of them wanted into that car. He put me on the boot.
He's got a resume fighting taxi drivers to rival AJ now. You didn't know Charles Martin is driving the taxi, by the way.
An Uber.
Oh, good old Tyson enjoying himself on holiday. Why not, I say, Andy, why not? What about this one then? Sky Sports Boxing, Fraser Clark. I want to be the next Johnny Nelson. Another person who clearly has never seen Johnny Nelson fight.
Well,
Dream it, believe it at Sky Sports. Yeah, dream it sounds about right.
Fraser Clark wants to cure insomnia by the sounds of it, man. Fuck me. That is
One thing next Johnny Nelson.
That's a statement I thought I'd never read, Steve. I want to be the next Johnny Nelson. Ooh.
Does he mean like as a Sky pundit?
Yeah.
Because he's on the right track by the sounds of it.
Or maybe it means he wants to become a company man, I don't know.
Oh fucking hell, the next Johnny Nelson, man. What are you dreaming nights like this, Steve?
The historical revisionism over Nelson's career is just off the scales, man. I mean, he was a decent fighter, like, don't get me wrong, but some of them fights, we sat through them WBO title defenses against Marco Heinechin and who else was he? Vincenzo Pettitori and
the Guillermo Jones fight, mate, where he refused to engage.
Yeah,
I forget, was it that fight or was it his first world title
De
fight?
Leon as well, wasn't it?
Carlos De Leon, wasn't that? It was Carlos De Leon. That's the one, mate. That was the worst world title fight I had seen up to that. It was fucking horrific.
Rudiger Mai in Germany on ITV4.
I've seen Mass Graves fucking looking better than that fight, man. Jesus Christ, it was awful.
Johnny Nelson.
Well, you never know. if Johnny comes back, he might be trained by this guy, Boxer Size Ben. They've fished out his old Twitter account. Personal training deals available. Contact me. Target Fitness. He's turned the Performance Centre into the Ben Davison Performance Centre. And don't worry, guys, we've got a third one coming up. He's at the British Hair Clinic. The British Hair Clinic said, we've recommended professional boxing coach Ben Davidson a course of PRP treatment. Ben has recently been concerned about a thinning crown area. Spencer Oliver liked the tweet.
Explains why he's been fucking using chip pine grease to get that hair slicked back, eh?
That's it. I tell you, it's the picture tells 1,000 words. No wonder your man has rubber gloves on, fucking going through his hair. Fucking hell.
I don't know why these people think they're above doing a comb over like Edward James Olmos and Stand and Deliver.
Ken something? I didn't want to hear anybody slag off anybody else about how they look. If you've got to go and get fucking hair plugs, Botox, or any of that shit, or a facelift to make yourself look presentable for some fucking reason, that shows you how unoriginal that you are. So I'd rather be fucking bald. I'd rather be how I fucking look, rather look like that fucking twat.
You look like you had leukemia since you were 15.
That's because I didn't get much sun up here. That's why I got to fucking pay tax on that shit. But as I'm saying, at least I'm fully original, right? I just take it as it comes. That cunt can't. He's got to use fucking Botox, hair plugs to look presentable. That tells you a man who's insecure about himself. Me,
well, then let's hope in the future
secure.
he looks presentable.
Aye, for the court appearance.
Stick back. For the crown jury, Mr. Ben Davidson. Here we are. Leave him alone. Tony doing his best to try and stay off TV.
How did they find him? How did they find him in that fucking riot was going on the pitch? How did they find him?
He just wanted to get safe to home to his wife and kids, not off punching back.
I tell you what happened. Suddenly saw him run across the field to attack. Poor fucking whatever his name was, and then fucking dragged him off the field. Anthony, we need to speak to you. I almost laughed. I almost cried. Oh my god, man.
You like him.
Good old Tony. He's got a double nomination. The reply is B has dropped one in on Tony. Bellew was calling Canelo a drug cheat and demanding he'd be banned from the sport for life a couple of years ago. Now he rims into high heaven because he works for DAZN, yet has the nerve to call people fickle. Call in, B, call in.
Oh, mate, just chucking his scorecard there for last night on that Buatsi.
Yeah,
what a fucking
it should be a doubles and trebles. Shout out to Smitho. Treble left hook from fucking Anthony Bellew there, Josh Kelly style. 7 zip he had, fucking 7 zip. He had Buatsi up after 7. Fucking hell.
Well, I think it was 8 zip actually. It's funny you should mention
Jesus.
that. Gerard said Bellew himself should be right up there for giving Buatsi the first 8 rounds. Richards might have want to stay at home. Fight still going, we'll see. I have Buatsi up, but I'm not scoring officially. Thankfully, Andy, neither was Tone.
Yeah, Anthony should have stayed at home last night, to be honest with you. But that's what he does, though, isn't it? It's just he's always bigging up the house fighter these days. Then he's Johnny Nelson bit said that he's doing it for the zone rather than Sky. Tell you what, mates, he was 8 rounds up on my card, mates. Aye, fuck aye.
He's having a great time, is the bomber.
The thing is, mate, we haven't fought professionals, so we're allowed in that.
We don't know. What do we know?
Exactly, we know fuck all, mate.
What do we know? About as much as the fat lad himself, Frank Smith. Matchroom would have been the best place for Ben Whittaker. Frank Smith on Sky Boxer signing. I actually agree with this, Rob. Why would you want to fight on Sky when you could be on the DAZN app? I think Frank's talking a bit of sense.
Why is Frankie Smith morphing into Ben Davison here, by the way?
He's got his head on.
Look, DAZN are a global platform, Steve. They're a global platform, and they're showing Katie Taylor versus Serrano at Croke Park and Canelo versus Triple G 3. So get a life for you for saying that about DAZN.
There'll be no fights for you. There will if Eddie keeps doing the matchmaking.
Literally no fights for you, by the way.
There'll be literally no fights left.
Absolutely none. I mean, look at this, man. It says it all when Eddie, evening to you, Edward, is fucking saying we might bring Bivol to the UK for fucking Joshua Buatsi, man. I mean, that is the depths that he's at just now to try and get fucking fights made for the UK public for his wee shitty app. Because Bean, Uncle Adam, is doing pretty well, you know. And praise be to Ben Shalom, good looking guy that he is.
Great looking guy, all our nice kids. Look at him there.
Eddie could have pulled that look off, man.
Bet you Leonard Ellerby likes Ben Shalom, doesn't he?
Adam Smith does. Adam Smith likes because he's like my younger brother. In fact, he could even be my son.
Did you all y'all see Sam Watson's fantastic tie last night on the PBC broadcast?
No, but he's a funny fucker, actually. I was listening to an old interview he did with Charlo last week at some party that they did. I think it was Charlo's birthday as well after the fight. He's quite a cool guy, actually, by the sounds of him.
Oh, he's a nice guy, Sam. He's a nice guy. Much like Dave Allen himself. No Aussie this week to celebrate this one. Looking like a fat as a pig Michelin, man.
Fucking hell, man. He's fucking... Is it the flip-flops, is that?
I don't know.
I tell you, he needs to get that weeding done as well, man. That's a disgraceful background. Get the weeding sorted out. Fucking hell, man.
I had to move closer to the computer. I thought that was an image of a 13-year-old Khabib wrestling a bear again.
Not opposed to a bit of bear wrestling, I'd say, Dave Allen.
Isaac Lowe got nominated by quite a few people. He sent out a message loud and clear to the rest of the division. I moved down to Super Bampton. Next, fight him, Frank Warren. Romanian Gypsy again. Get English Gypsy.
Super Bampton.
What the fuck?
Only a thesaurus can know what he's talking about, by the way, isn't it?
Does that mean he's want to fight Carl Frampton? I don't understand.
Super Bampton.
Is that why I don't understand what he's saying? Is he speaking Romani?
I don't know what he's talking, to be honest, but it's funny. He's a good lad, he's Isaac. Yeah,
You're still fucking reeling for that knockout that he
I
got.
think so, yeah. He thought he'd be spelling right now.
Nick Ball, that's his name. Nick Ball, it was.
Clarissa the Groat Shield said, haha, Savannah Marshall blocked me on Instagram. Rent-free, motherfucker, rent-free. Savannah said, why would I block you? I love nothing more than watching you bounce about in clothing that's cutting you in half and daft wigs doing TikToks.
Oh, snap.
Wow.
Shots fired.
That's the sharpest counter Savannah Marshall has ever thrown.
Oh, dear me.
Hey, Rob, what was the name of the things that you said? I was like, oh, fuck, I dropped the ball out there. You mentioned how the fucking the rolls in their hair. What was it called? Baby rolls. What do you call them?
Baby hair.
Baby hair.
The baby hair.
I was like,
front.
what the I wasn't aware of that.
Baby hair curls. Yeah, you don't know. You're not up with the fucking... You need to get yourself on TikTok, Andy.
Mate, yeah, I'm trying to keep my daughter off that thing. I didn't want to go on to that fucking TikTok.
No, it's a dead of iniquity, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Right for the brain. Danny Young throwing in a fiver here. Danny Young, he said £5 for Dave Allen's next kebab.
You might want to throw another fucking surcharge on that one, Danny.
Exactly. If you seen that gut, by the way, that's a double kebab.
You know, before inflation, you would have been able to get a kebab and chips. It's rough shit.
Oh yeah.
I'd be curry sauce.
Times are changing. For the Ebbs herself, what on earth? Here she is pictured with another lovely young lady. But we're going to focus in on this gentleman over onto the right-hand side, Romeo L. Jenkins, who threw in a message. He said, I would love to get to know you and support you in any way possible. And if you could you could give me a call or a text. My name is Romeo, and I mean, it'll be good to support a young lady like yourself, get to know you, maybe be in your corner. I mean, you'll be amazed. I don't know how about that things I do for lady sports, perseverance, ambition, blah, blah, blah. But he takes it up a level here in the second message. He said, all is missing is a nice romantic cruise to Italy with dinner with orchestra, soft soothing music and dinner with wine, caviar, steak, escargot, a nice relaxing soothing bubble bath, dip in the ocean, relaxing nice full body massage, the works. I'm your guy. Romero.
We're far out there.
Fucking Christ.
Talking about thirsty, fucking hell, man.
That's picturing, that's setting it quite the scene, isn't it? You can fucking picture they're on the gondolas with fucking Ebony, two fucking bottles of Pinot in her fucking Nessun Dorma playing in the background, and her just going, you see the Phoenix, right? I got a Ferrari, really? I got a Ferrari.
Frankly, I think that's gonna...
Halfway through the meal, she asked if Leeds United actually beat the relegation.
I kind of feel like that's going to end with Ebbs jumping overboard and just swimming for it.
Or somehow she's ending up overboard either way.
Here's one thing to kill the mood, Andy, for Ebbs and Romeo. This fella turns up.
Yes. I said to Rob, actually, I said, I bet you any money. I don't know what this young guy's name is. What was his name again? Dusty. I bet you Dusty is actually his dad's name, and his dad told him, listen, son, be my wingman, go in there and get that fucking picture. And your name's Dusty, just for 2 minutes, son. Just do me this solid, okay? Go in. I'm like, you dirty old pervert. That's what it's going to be, man, isn't it?
Look in the background there, man. Look at the shocking attitude towards fire safety. Covering up the fire hose axis with the sign there. That's pointed out.
It says
he
he says
would be over
something
that one.
really corny like, "Be you, be yourself, mate.
Be real.
Be you, be real. Fuck off, man, will you?"
I got the Phoenix. You know what the Phoenix stands for?
It's for art, man. I got the Phoenix for art.
Good old Ebbs. Next one here, Vicky Graville nominated the WBA. They are set to give each of their top Super 6 lightweight contenders 15 minutes to tell them why they should fight for the vacant WBA world title. Alberto Puello, who is the mandatory, has to fight alongside Barroso, Davis, Martin, Prograis and Akhmedov to make their case.
I think that's a pretty solid one, to be fair. Like, I mean, imagine that. Like, it's like going for a fucking interview, eh? Tell me your strong points and what's your weaknesses to deserve this fight. Well, you know, I'm O'Hara Davis. I got smashed up off Josh Taylor. My two noses couldn't breathe. So, you know, I deserve another chance. Ismael Barroso, I got smashed up off Anthony Crawler. I look like death on the scales, but yeah, I deserve another chance. Regis Prograis, I've no fought for many years. I fight trash in the last 2 years, but yeah, I deserve another chance. Sandor Martin, did he not beat Mikey Garcia? I think that's when he beat Mikey Garcia. So, get to him. He's got the fucking top one.
My 15 minutes would go like this. Yeah, I have pictures of you getting a hand job from a lady boy in a Panama City bar 2 years ago.
Well, what about the likes of Akhmedov? Their case could probably be, well, I did nearly beat Barrios and you said you would install me as the mandatory. Or Puello could say, well, you actually did install me as the mandatory, so there's a case for you.
Yep, and actually, fuck it. They should create another belt. This is what they do. Create another belt.
Shocking. WBA.
15-minute title, call it that.
Almost as shocking as Ed firing back at Ellaby. I'm 100 times bigger than you. What are you? Nothing. Ellaby says his whole mantra, I'm going to take over boxing in America, completely backfired. If he were for the sport and was responsible for building a team and give a $1 billion budget and it completely failed his ass, so if he's a general manager, he would have been fired. He's got a different kind of privilege, though. 100% Len going in.
Absolutely love it. Fucking love it. There's nothing Hearn won't lie about, actually, isn't there? There's nothing. Absolutely zero. And Ellerby's got like what he's had like I don't know what his actual role is, but he's basically either front and centre or working behind the scenes in the past. But I'm sure he's been involved in probably the 4 or the 5 biggest pay-per-views in history of boxing, right? What's Eddie done? Fuck all.
He's doing his best, Andy.
Doing his best, mate, aye. No fights for him, though.
He's done a decent job losing some weight. Got to give the guy some credit there. He's lost a few pounds.
Well, I think Ellaby runs Floyd's company, doesn't he? I think he
the CEO, isn't he?
Aye, CEO. So there you go. CEO and Mayweather Promotions. As I said, the Pacquiao fight is the biggest I'm sure, is it still is? Biggest pay-per-view fight in history, I think. Speaks volumes.
Yeah. Rob finds this all very appalling.
Rob's disappeared off. Rob wants to get back on his own ASAP so he can see Jaime Munguia against Jimmy Kilrain Kelly.
Fucking honestly, Kelly, who did he beat now? He had that kind of upset one. Who was it against?
Kanat Islam, wasn't he?
Kanat Islam, that's right. Jaime Munguia, he beat Spike O'Sullivan in his last fight, I think. Or was it 2 fights back?
In his last fight he beat Rosado, I think, didn't he?
A fucking golden boy, man. I was reading something as well last week that DAZN have actually re-upped Golden Boy's contract, and they actually mentioned, the headliners of his stable is Jaime Munguia, who was the other one? Virgil Ortiz, who's no fucking fighting, and I forget the third person at this point. But yeah, it's just that's trash. That's fucking awful, that fight.
All over the place. Michaela Mayer says, I got a flat tyre last night and a man pulled over to help me fix it. I took him to dinner to say thank you and he told me his story. He just got out of jail and someone had got rid of his dog. He went to the Humane Society together and this morning got him and his companion back together. Oh, isn't that nice, Matty? What an amazing virtue signal wrapped up in a lie.
Yeah, it is. Maybe she did a really, really nice thing. It'd be right. If she's like really, really nice and really, really attractive, what a rare combination. I'd like to think this is true, Steve, because I'd like to think in the better of humanity.
She can take me dinner.
I can't wait for the end of it where he comes back and kills her.
At least we all know it'll be true. Chris Primetime Colbert going in on Jamel Herring. You need to stick to your military service instead of boxing. Tags in Jamel Herring as well. I'll tell you what, man. You think
he's
Colbert
got some
would
nerve.
keep a low profile after his last fight?
Exactly. He's got some fucking nerve, hasn't he? Little fucker. Chris Herring made the most of his career. That bum fucking can't even properly make weight.
At least Jamel Herring tried to win his fight, you little pussy backfoot bitch.
There we go, Rob. Going in.
I thought that was Dillian White's ring walk.
Chris Lloyd, man. Fucking hell.
Chris Lloyd, Smith and Buatsi are somewhere clear of the field now. No disrespect.
Fuck off.
Can I say that I'm glad that Chris Lloyd's got me blocked on Twitter, so I didn't need to read his pish, man. Really, that
he has me blocked as well, but you can manage to just about cut them, can't you? If they're like in the quote or something like that, I think.
No, I don't think you can actually. To be honest,
maybe he's blocked me, but not the Asylum. Maybe that's what it is.
Possibly. I've got to ask the guys to send me screenshots if I see his link come up here.
I don't even know who he is. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. What he says.
He's a league commentator for the Zone from time to time, is he not?
Oh, that guy.
Rob, this is the guy who told us fighters don't pull out of fights because he'd done a lot of tape work for the last week. What was his name, Steve? Who was the fucking fighter?
It was the Buatsi when he was supposed to fight Vlasov, wasn't it?
Is that what it was? Buatsi when they pulled out of that fight because I'd done all my research, so
wouldn't waste my time like that.
No. Fucking twat.
Here's one for you, Rob. Spencer Fiero getting into the metaverse. Metavisionaries.
Can you imagine him fucking selling that shit, man?
Can you imagine him getting a flight to America anytime soon? Because I can't.
Sonny Edwards, did you see him?
I'd be hesitant getting involved in that business venture for the moment if I was you.
Your sound's kind of crackly.
I think it's your mic or something, Rob. I know my connection's not the best, so maybe it's me.
No, I think it's Rob. It sounds like Morse code.
Could be the metaverse fucking trying to infiltrate me. No, I was saying I'd be cautious about getting involved in that business venture at the moment myself. Fucking hell.
Right. Okay. So, do we think we have another one? The Nutter League? No, we've gone through the Nutter League.
Sonny Edwards, you know got that one, mate? No,
I haven't got Sonny Edwards. Somebody sent me this one, by the way. The WBC is, I don't know if this is a spoof or not. The WBC is proud to be an LGBTQ plus ally and support the World Gay Boxing Championships. I don't know whether that's from a legitimate website source or not. But
it's the WBC website, but looks at me.
Somebody sent it in for Value of the Week. I don't know whether we're allowed to announce that or not, but there you go. It's up anyway.
Don't know if I'd watch it on a Saturday night now, but
is it a slapping contest?
I'm not sure what's going on.
I have a feeling the event will be fabulous.
So Orlando Cruz taking part.
Maybe we should leave the boys where they are. Right, yeah. And I've got Sonny Edwards up for this one, Andy. But if you have any to throw in, then feel free. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Sonny Edwards was, I get an interview. I need to sit and watch it again, but there was a couple of clips. I think it was Ranger Rollins had actually clipped it and put it out there. I think he'd been asked a question about flying to America for a fight, and he says, Sonny, he does this kind of mad thing with his fingers. He says, I don't think I'll be going to America anytime soon. So I don't know if that's like a tacit like admission that he's actually on the ban list. Which I'm still waiting for that 600 names to get released just for the banter and that. But yeah, I thought that was quite funny. Eddie for saying that, look, I'm 100 times bigger than Leonard Ellaby. What are you? You're nothing. This just goes back to the ego. You know, Eddie sees himself as some sort of kind of franchise, shall we say, that he's like some sort of personality in the boxing. He's a fucking promoter. His job is to get fights made, promote the events, shut the fuck up, and just speak when all the fight's happening. But as I say, he's just full of fucking shit, man.
The worst is the fanboys in the comments for Hearns. They're all like on the IFL video, like, yeah, Eddie's got him on strings, got Ellerby on strings, he's living in his head. No, Ellerby's telling the truth. That was true what Ellerby said. Everything he said was true. Like.
Yep. Probably just one more for me, mate. It was the Mauricio Suleiman was calling out the WBA for not honouring their sanctioning body agreement. I think it's something to do with the Josh Taylor situation getting stripped of his belt. Suleiman was kind of like moaning that WBA violated the sanctioning body agreement because the WBC mandatory challenger Jose Cepeda was next in line to fight Josh Taylor. So as I says, beef behind the scenes, but who gives a fuck about the bodies at the end of the day? So yeah, that's it for me, mate. But I'm kind of sliding towards I'm trying to remember who that vote was for again. Actually, now come back to me.
Okay, Matty, any from you, please? Any nominations, Matty?
Oh, Yeah, I have Al Bernstein, who during the Yoelvis Gomez Jorge Kota fight said Gomez is ranked number 5th. Then I got referee Tony Zino in the Luis Nunes Jonathan Fiero fight, who at the end of the 10th round, when the fighters came together after to celebrate a good fight, pulled them apart and said, "It's not over yet." The referee unaware fully of how many rounds that the fight was going to be contested over. And finally, I would like to nominate another referee, Manuel Oliver Palomo, for his absolute shit performance in the Kerman Learaga fight. Just absolute bias, missing the knockdown call, just pathetic performance, horrible officiating. So those are my 3.
Brilliant stuff. Rob, any from you, please?
No, nothing apart from Eddie's response to Leonard Ellerby, really.
Right, let's go over them very quickly then, including the ones the boys just threw in there. Fraser Clark saying he wanted to be the next Johnny Nelson. We've got Bill.
Oh, hold on.
There
had one more. Got one of the Liams. I'm sorry, got my device away from me. Nominated his friends at the pub for saying that they thought that Mike Tyson is the greatest heavyweight from the 90s onwards. So the boys from the pub get a nomination.
No, nomination for the boys from the pub. We'll have to get them a trophy each if they end up winning, but they'll have tough competition.
I had one. Sorry, I had one for AJ Matchroom Boxing. They've done a tweet, haven't they? And they said, "Announcement soon come." It's really teasing the life out of this announcement, had they?
I'd heard that fight's getting pushed back to the autumn, but we're waiting to see.
Dude, that's some rough shit when they're having to hire Isaac Lowe to do their fucking social media.
The bomber dragged out of retirement last night. We've got Frank Smith. We've got Fat as a Pig Dave Allen. Isaac himself on social media duty there. We've got Savannah Marshall. We've got Ebbs and all of her many fans. We've got the WBA, Eddie again. We've got Golden Boy for making that shit fight. Michaela Mayer for a little speech. Chris Primetime Colbert. Chris Lloyd. Spencer Fiero out in Meta Visionaries, Meta Universe, and the WBC Gay Championships, and Tyson Fury as well for wandering around wherever he was drunk. Who are you going for, Matty? Episode 475.
I think I got to go for Fat as a Pig there.
Oh, Dave Allen?
Yeah.
Well, he's not been active lately in the ring, but at least he's working out in the back garden. So, nomination from you for Dave it is?
Yeah, there you go. He's my pick.
I don't know, like, the size of him, but actually, he's fucking... One ring will be active and it'll be his fucking farter.
Are you going for Andy?
I'm going for a WBA interview, 15-minute interview. I think that's fucking tremendous fucking bullshit, man. Honestly, see if that was me, I'd have done my video full bullet naked, standing there in the middle of the camera. Just says, give me my fucking shot, or I'm going to show you my dick. That's what we'll fucking do.
Yeah, I could imagine that you wouldn't interview well.
You just see Gilberto then doing his hand like a snake and going, "You've charmed me. You've got the title shot."
Right, Andy's going for the WBA. Matty is going for Dave Allen. Rob, who are you going for?
Dave Allen, man. Fucking Dave hasn't had a W for a while, has he? Like, so we might as well get this one. And I know Ozzy would have fucking gone into full meltdown mode if he had been here. So I'm going to take Ozzy's vote and give it to Dave Allen.
For what it's worth, I was going to go for Bill Keane-Bren with his thinning crown area, but unfortunately it's not enough to get the Belly of the Week this week. That has been won by Dave Allen himself, the White Rhino. You are the Belly of the Week for episode 475. Congratulations, Mr. Allen. A quick shout out to our super chatters before we finish up to the evening. We had Joe Burns throwing in twice, Kieran McConnell with a bumper throw in, the Dr. FMG as well, and Northern Monkey. And thanks to Danny Young for throwing in a fiver right at the end. We've enjoyed it. The chat have enjoyed it. The panel have been great. We've had Rapping Rob Kelly on as normal. We've had Matty DJ Leonardo and Andy Patterson. Matty will be in the hot seat next week, episode 476. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all of those beautiful things. I've been Steve Wellings. We love you all. We'll see you all again, same time, same place, next week, and bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to animals!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't. I will fucking smash. Fuck you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.